Black Alpha Network. Power to the people.
All right, my brother, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, family. How you doing?
Man, good, brother. How's it going on out there on the East Coast, brother?
Man, lovely, man. It's a little, little sunshine in the sky, so we're going to take advantage of that, man. But all is well. What about the West Coast, family?
Up here, the sun is just now starting to come out. It's been a little hazy, but, we're going to get through it.
I'm going to tell you who the sun is not shining on, and that's the Democratic Party, fam.
Absolutely not, man. They're having a series of rainy days, a super series of rainy days. And I think the Raphael Warnock election is tomorrow.
Yes, it is.
That'll be a huge sign. That will be a huge sign.
Absolutely, fam. It's a sign of things to come. And, those rainy days that they see, the forecast is calling for a whole lot of thunderstorms, family. A whole lot. It's going to be a Category 5 hurricane in here if you leave it up to foundational Black Americans and the Black grassroots and how we're going to handle and how we're going to deal with the Democratic Party. And this election right here is the first sign of things to come. So that little storm that they got brewing, a few scattered showers, them is about to turn into some real Category 5 hurricanes. And, it's all sponsored by us, so we can pop our own collar on that one. You feel me, brother?
Absolutely so, brother. The grassroots, and it's becoming evident. I just saw something this morning from Roland Martin. I guess this was a few days ago, where he is basically trying to pull the scare tactic about the Republicans again. At the same time, you had the Democrats coming out talking about how they do not support reparations. So that whole argument just went out the window within 24 hours. And, it was good to see because these people are recognizing that there is a shift and they no longer have their lackeys in control to control the narrative.
Absolutely, family. Absolutely. And I want to break down all of that today. I want anybody who wants to come up and speak. Let's talk about it because there's no reparations and no Democrats. That's the bottom line. They're going to run them tangibles or else. Period. Point blank. And I want to break it down more thorough than anybody. This is going to be the most thorough examination of the Democratic Party and what we're going to do to the Democratic Party. And I stress that what we're going to do to the Democratic Party because it's all on us. The onus is on us and they're going to move the way we tell them to move, opposed to them coming to us and trying to tell us who to vote for, tell us who our allies are, and just control all aspects of our living. Them days are done. As I said in the tweet earlier, a lot of people seen it. This is not the yes, we can generation. This is not the Edmund Pettus Bridge generation. This is the cut the check generation. And they're going to cut the check or they're going to have to deal with the consequences. And this election right here, the midterms, and this is midterm madness. This is certified truth. Salute to everybody. If y'all could please share the room, I appreciate that. But we're going to show everybody how this election right here is the first domino to fall in the Democratic Party getting broke. And we're going to break the Democratic Party. We're going to break some Democratic shields and anybody else who has a problem. So before anybody comes up and they start saying, well, what about the Republicans? Because y'all know that's the main talking point that they're going to try to pull. Let me say this right now, and I've said this consistently, and anybody who's familiar with me right here on the Black Alpha Network. The Democrats get 90% of the vote, so they're going to catch 90% of the smoke. That's what it is. You're dealing with people who come around and they use foundational Black American pain and suffering so they can get votes. They use Breonna Taylor. They use Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Rekia Boyd. They use Corinne Gaines, everybody. They use these people and they put them in their campaign slogans and their stickers and they use our oppression so they can get votes from us. And this is the difference between them and anybody else. The Republicans, they're the motherfuckers who know better. They know better. They know they can't come across that street and try to con us or hustle us. The Democrats, they're the people who be on that sneak dissing. They be sending them little subs. They're always trying to deceive us. Malcolm X talked about them in the 1960s, so it ain't nothing new. When the Republicans decide that they want to come on them snake games, they're going to catch that work. But right here, right now, the Democrats are the ones who are all in our business, all in our circles. So we're going to have to give it to them the only way the FBA knows how to, and that's real vetting, real paperwork snatching, and real regulating. You feel me, Brother Zilla?
I absolutely do. And I think now it's showing more than ever the reason why we need to be checking paperwork. Because, see, over here, you can understand the people that come and speak in these spaces and They have a history of talking this type of talking in this type of lane. Whether it's like you often say, it's chewing bubble gum and walking at the same time. So we talk in Black empowerment all the time. That is a multi-level house. So we address all of the different issues. Right now, the topic is definitely reparations because it covers a lot of the other issues. So we are seeing non-stop people trying to come out to disrupt this movement of getting reparations and just getting our people on focus. Because here's the other part. We are not as financially illiterate today either. So our political savvy is growing and our financial awareness is growing at the same time, getting closer to the reparations claim, which is an absolute economical world shift.
Family, family, family. And that's what's got everybody in disarray. That's what's got everybody shook, and everybody understands that we're getting closer and closer to the bag. Did anybody out there, and I'm speaking to everybody right here in the panel, did anybody see Stacey Abrams come out the other day and say that she has a reparations plan and she supports reparations? I'm sure the family's seen that. This woman said she supports reparations and made a whole statement and never said reparations again. She put it in the headline, but she didn't put it in the detail. She didn't put it in the nuances, not at all. As a matter of fact, she never even referenced foundational Black Americans. She kept saying Black people, people of color, communities of, Black communities, basically flat Blackness, basically all lives matter, basically everybody except for us. See, in the old days, that shit used to work. Back in the old days, she would get away with that type of stuff and nobody would really call it out. Right now, we call that out. Matter of fact, there's a sister, I cannot remember her name. Salute to you, sister. She G-checked Stacey Abrams' statement in the first sentence. Okay, the first sentence. That's where we are right now. We G-checking this from the jump. You're not getting away with that type of stuff no more. So this is what they're doing. They're trying to derail the reparation. Nina Turner's running around here talking about she supports reparations, and when you press her on it, she immediately pivots to all lives matter. So that's the game that they're doing. That's the game they're on because they want to stop us from getting to the bag. That's what it is. But at the same time, they got to placate to us so they can still get our vote. So they're in a position right now where they got to play friend, and then at the same time, they got to be enemy. And that's a real tricky position when foundational Black Americans are codified. When we're not codified, when you got Edmund Pettus Bridge and John Lewis running around here, that shit works. When you got the Yes We Can era, that shit works. But right now, it ain't so easy. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're making everything difficult because like TBA says, if we're not comfortable, nobody's going to be comfortable. And that starts with the Black Grassroots G-checking the Democratic Party. You feel me, family?
Absolutely. And, again, like you said, they get 96% of the vote. That is a enormous number. So when you have anything like that before you, we absolutely have to always keep our finger on our own button versus how everybody is used to it. Like if you just heard Roland Martin last week, he's so used to the system having control. How they're addressing it, him and Greg Carr, is if the system of oppression falls, then all of us are in trouble and then none of us will get nothing. Well, here's the point. A lot of us don't see it with the colonized mind, and that is a colonized mind speaking. So, yeah, we're different, and it's okay. We just gonna stay different. And if anybody can't understand how to get along with this new movement of real empowerment, hey, you're just gonna get left behind. That's all I could really tell you.
Hey, we're going to put them on the corner like it's trash day. We're going to put them on the corner like it's trash day. This is what I love. Family, I'm going to say it like this. I love this era that we're living in right now. I love the era that nobody can get away with anything. Like, you're not going to come up in here and run those con games on us no more. And you got to start with the people who con us the most, and that's the Democratic Party. I'm telling y'all, the Democratic Party acts like they have ownership over us. They act like we belong to them. This is what it is. We are the only lineage on the planet where somebody actually gets 90+% of our vote and wags their fingers at us. To them, not voting Democrat is like not picking cotton. You can see the parallels all the way back to slavery with how they treat us. It's labor for nothing. Them trying to elevate other groups above us. Them not trying to give us our reparations. Them not trying to give us everything that belongs to us. This is the play that the Democrats do. And I'm telling y'all, family, they will go down with this. They will not pivot. So we have one choice, and that is to break the Democratic Party. And we're going to break down some strategic means on how we can do that today, because we're not just going to sit here and talk about how bad the Democrats are. We're going to talk about how bad they are and how we can make it worse for them. I'm all for making that party crumble. Okay, either you're gonna give us our tangibles or else. That's the bottom line, and that's the approach that we have to have. We can't have this kind of, sort of, maybe, let's see what they do next. We don't have that kind of time. This is the real time era where we need results in real time. Everybody else is getting it in real time. Everybody else is. Remember, y'all, when Joe Biden got elected, he hopped in his hover round in his wheelchair and he rolled his ass all the way to the White House, pulled out a pen, and he started writing executive orders for everybody. Not on day one, he did it on the first hour. So these other groups got more in 1 hour than foundational Black Americans have got in 400 years. Okay, remember that. So when you start talking about hate crime laws, you start talking about tangibles, you start talking about resources, we sitting back and watching it go to everybody else. Our reparations money is being sent over to the Ukraine. It's going to people who were separated at the border by Trump. You're talking about people getting $400,000 a piece and living in Airbnbs, while out in the West Coast in Skid Row, we have a homeless crisis, not to mention all across the 50 states. Foundational Black Americans represent 12 to 13% of the population. That is Black people who admit that they're Black. If you have the people who do not admit that they're Black, then we go up, but that's a whole nother issue. Nonetheless, we represent 12 to 13% of the population, but we represent 60 to 70% of the homeless rate. That's a problem. And this is all happening under Democrats, basically in Democrat cities. When these race soldiers attack us, it all goes back to the Democrats and there's no accountability. So instead of us receiving all of that, we get a finger wagged at us and tell us just to shut up and go vote. And this is from the Democrats. And then you got the Roland Martins of the world. You had the Vanessa Jones. You had the broken Buck Kari Sellers, the Angela Ryes, the Joy Reeds. They all come out and serve as minions and extensions of it. In the meantime, in between time, foundational Black Americans are out here trying to get to the bag. So we don't have time to deal with this party. We don't have time to deal with their games. Only thing we have time for is them to cut that goddamn check. And if they do not cut that goddamn check, you can look what's going on right now with Stacey Abrams flopping. You can look what's going on right now with Raphael Warnock flopping. And we're going to take that same agenda and that same type of strategy from a local level, and we're going to take it national, nationwide. Kid Gravity, it's on you, fam.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Lovely.
That's what's up. I'm sure Savannah is going to come out and say no to Warnock, no to the warmongers. All right, family, this is the time. We're in the eye of the hurricane right now. We got 3 weeks. This is going to be a 3-week hurricane. So if you're going to vote, make sure you educate yourself before you go in them polls and vote the right way. And that way is Black empowerment. If you're not going to vote, please educate your people on how to vote. Do not vote just because you see somebody on the screen all day, every day talking that good nothing, because at the end of the day, you vote for that and then you get nothing, you can't complain later. So I'm just going to tell y'all that. And please watch out for these celebrities that y'all follow, because they are on a campaign right now to make sure Stacey gets enough Black visibility as she can. I had to go pack up some coon this morning. That video's coming out Wednesday, because I got to talk about Kanye first. But please watch out for that, because they will be coming out in force for the next 3 weeks. And I'll just lay in there until later.
Real talk. And like, it's the month of October. So, we are just weeks away, as you already seen. We already mentioned Warnock and Herschel Walker's election is tomorrow. So we are in the midst of the midterm madness. What's different about this go around is the grassroots voice is a dominant voice, as much as they want to say it's not. And that's how you know your voice is really holding weight and power. When they have to tell you that those people on the internet and all the YouTubers, those people ain't really holding weight. That's just a small little echo chamber. Okay. Well, if that was true, we wouldn't have so many different agents and provocateurs hopping out to go ahead and try to keep nonsensical beef going on between people that ain't even paying no attention to them, instead of focusing on reparations like we are. We're focused on the tangibles here. Well, we ain't focused on personal beefs. We're focused on tangibles. So I also want to answer a question that I've seen. Is the reparations movement a competition? Absolutely not. But what it is a subject for people. When you're talking about money, this is like this is the ultimate fight over the will. This is the ultimate family fight over the will. And you got all of the cousins that ain't ever been around wanting to come in and now start sitting at the table like, yeah, I was the favorite. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now, and we just not having that. You understand what I'm saying, brother?
Absolutely, family. I absolutely do. And, one of the things that we got to do, us who are certified, and that's why I say certified. That's why I say certified foundational Black American, certified American Freedmen, certified Black Grassroots, certified Black Society. Anybody's familiar with the Black Alpha Network, those are two of my mottos and my principles. And what that does is that cuts between the people who are counterfeit and the people who are really about that life. If you're about that life and you really focus on the mission and the task in hand, which I know a lot of us are, those of us who are very, very sincere about it, we got to make sure that what we do is pure, and we got to rid out a lot of people who aren't really on that. So, the best way of doing that is just to stay codified, to understand who's really putting in the real work, opposed to people who are just running their mouth. Because people were running their mouth in the 60s and 70s. People was in the civil rights era saying how they did all these things and they really didn't. You're always going to find outliers and people who are naysayers. But the fact is that we got to remain laser focused. And if you really, really want to see somebody who's about that life, see people who are going after the dominant society. People who are going after the brother and sister next to them, that's just wasted time, wasted energy. Okay, that's not going to get the job done. Nobody's going to remember 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, the beef that you had on Twitter with somebody else who wanted to do it in a different way. That's not going to be remembered. What will be remembered, though, is us going after the Democratic Party, breaking them, the Republican Party, or anybody else who has smoke for foundational Black Americans on a grand scheme. That's the important part. That's the part that will be remembered, and that's the part that we got to stay focused on. I don't know about anybody else, but I know my certifieds right here, my foundational Black Americans, that's what we're on, and everybody else is just going to have to find the way to the sideline. You feel me on that one, family?
Absolutely. And with that being said, I don't know what happened to the other individual that was on the stage. I believe that was a sister, Nzinga. I did notice some colors in the profile, and we understand that group has typically looked to the Democrats to always hold them down, and then they didn't want to be Black. Well, now we see that the Democrats don't really have anybody's interest in mind, not even the rainbow flag. So now there's a lot of folks that are kind of making their way back to Blackness now. And that's something that we're going to have to check. So just like, everybody else, we're going to have to kind of give you that long, stiff arm and say, hey, we got to see some things from you first before we just welcome you back with open arms. So I absolutely feel you, my brother.
I want to break down, family, a lot of different things that is going on in terms of how they try to hustle us and con us. We did a space a long time ago talking about how to spot an agent, and we was really actually talking about Democratic shields and things like that before it went left, but that's all right. We put it right back on the track like we do. This is what we got to understand, is that people who are going to come around, as Brother Kid Gravity was just saying, the entertainers, these fake politicians, pop-up goofs, all of these type of things are going to be what they do to stop us. And trust me, these people be in the pocket of the Democratic Party. Roland Martin just came out the other day, did a whole interview about immigration, and he was just flat out lying. Okay, he was flat out lying because what he's trying to do, he took his orders from his zaddy, and zaddy told him going out there and try to sell FBA on immigration, because he understands immigration is the key centerpiece of the Democratic Party for a lot of reasons. They're trying to replace the Black vote. They're trying to replace our lineage. You see it all across the board out there on the West Coast, family, the thing that was going on with the city council, all of these type of things. This is what's happening in terms of people trying to infiltrate. The infiltrator is out here. We all see it. We have lengthy discussions about it. But what we have to do now is highlight it, spot it, and frame it so we can run it out the paint. And the Democrats are going to continue to send these people our way. Think about it. The rapper Little Baby, he's met with more Democratic politicians than Dr. Claude Anderson has, than any economist, any strategist, anybody. That's the sad part. Hillary Clinton sitting down with Megan Thee Stallion. This is what they're going to do. They're going to continue to do that. They're going to continue to send us these people because they don't want to get serious and they don't really want to give us what we want. But at the end of the day, like I said, tangibles are coming. And you see now that we're actually unfolding. We're breaking things in the aspect where they don't really have no choice but to address us properly and perfect. So we got to continue to do that. We got to break down different elements of how the Democrats are going to try to infiltrate, different faces who are going to show up that are really just Democratic shields in disguise and then camouflage. And then we can get all the way back around to it. I'm going to back to you, Zilla, and then afterwards, Brother Perry.
Man, no, I'm ready to hear what Brother Perry got. So go ahead, Brother Perry. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
You know what? I'm almost 60 years old, man, and they always try to get the black vote, but never want to give us any tangible. They just want us to shut the fuck up and vote. You know, I already got tricked one time, and I was voting for that motherfucker Barack Obama, and I learned my lesson after that. You know what I'm saying? And they always want to give you fried fish and shit like that, but never want to give you no fucking tangibles and shit. But all these other groups of people getting shit, but we're not getting nothing. They're getting shit that we should be getting. And that's bullshit. Real talk. You know, and you got these fucking Democrat shields. Does anybody know who Jennifer Lewis is? She's the actress from off that show Blackish or something like that. And you know,
Manny Lewis?
She blocked me off on Twitter because she didn't like what I said about Stacey Abrams is not going to do anything for the community. She got mad and blocked me. You know, I guess the truth hurts.
I do.
Yeah. I guess I can pass it on to somebody else. I just had to get that out there.
Yeah, no doubt, brother. Go ahead, bro. You got it. Go ahead, bro. You got it, brother.
Hey, I love when Brother Perry start putting in that work, man. Yeah, hey, family, when you get, hit that block button, when they start blocking you, hey, welcome to the whole team, man. I think I done got blocked by every Democratic shield who got a Twitter account, every last one of them. Roland Martin, I think half the people in the space done been blocked by Roland Martin, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That means they sweating. That means they don't know what to do next, and we're going to make them uncomfortable. That's where it all starts. Everybody wants to get tangibles. Everybody wants to get resources. It starts with making these Democratic shields and politicians very, very uncomfortable. When they are in comfort, then you start getting the Edmund Pettis Bridge of the world. You start getting the Yes We Cans of the world. When they are in discomfort, then you start getting real things done. So it starts with us doing this right here, right now. Go ahead, Zilla, and then I think Brother Dave, I can't see the last name, but Zilla, and then you can toss it to the boy.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. You got it. Go ahead. Brother Dave, are you there? You can go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on if Brother Dave ain't ready. Go ahead, my brother Cool Keys up in here. Go ahead, family.
Peace, family. Thanks for letting me speak. Shout out to the B1 family. And I just wanted to add that we definitely got to pay attention to the local seats that are being ran for right now. In every state, there's always, I noticed that there's going to be, a black looking face running for office. And we just got to check that platform, check that paperwork, because it's a lot of people using a lot of these talking points with the black and brown agendas and all the all lives matter agendas. And we got to keep calling that stuff out. I'm laying right there.
Big facts, brother. We have to absolutely call that out. And again, we've seen certain, conversations happen where I guess people felt uncomfortable about that being questioned, but it shouldn't. It's just all a part of the vetting process. So that's just, how things are supposed to be when you're being thorough. Dave, are you ready to speak, brother?
No, I'm just quite new here. Okay.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and drop you back down to listening then, brother.
Okay, I got you.
All right, bro. Alpha, are you there, brother?
And Dave sounded like he was taking a nap. He was taking, let me leave that alone. Anyway, salute to you, Dave. I ain't gonna go there. Anyway, as we were saying, back to the tangibles, and like our brother Kukizi said, you're gonna start seeing a lot of these local politicians start popping up, playing these type of games with us and these, con artists. But one of the things that we got to definitely mention, and me and you spoke about this, privately, Zilla, is a lot of these tethers that you're seeing run under the Democratic banner. This is what you're seeing a lot of times where they'll pop up and they'll, portray that they're a foundational Black American or they got our best interest, and they literally give everything to everybody else. So therefore, these people are being elevated. We had a lengthy discussion about immigration, and a lot of foundational Black Americans, me as well, believe that is right there at the forefront. It's really reparations and immigration. Those are the two types of things. And how do you know this? Because a lot of immigrants want to get in on our reparations. This is what it is. And they love handling us with this type of, off-brand kind of nature. They like to kind of keep us at bay, where everybody else, they walk right through the front door and they just pass them right along. This is what we have to do, and this is why we got to continue to watch who comes around. Out there on the West Coast, you've seen them people trying to get in on our reparations claims. You had everybody from every other nation from their homelands coming here to take what's ours. The Democratic Party wants to replace foundational Black Americans. Let's just get to the brass tacks of the situation, family. They want us gone. And they are bringing in immigrants, giving them money, giving them benefits, giving them resources that belong to us. You don't give somebody what belongs to us unless you are trying to replace us. Okay, this is genuinely an ethnocide, and the Democratic Party are going to be the main ones who facilitate this. So anybody who comes around here talking about what about the Republicans and what about this, that, and the other thing, trust and believe the Democrats are in the forefront of all of that. And if we don't do something now, the next 10 to 15, 20 years, you're going to see a lot of folks running around here claiming that everything that we've done, they've done. You see it. They're out here trying to take our reparations. They're out here trying to claim hip hop. There's not one element of society, one element of foundational Black American existence that an immigrant is not saying that they did. Now, you want to believe me? Take the goddamn country. Who is out here saying that the country was built by immigrants? That is a Democratic liberal talking point. Joe Biden said it out his own mouth. He said it. This is a nation of immigrants. Immigrants built America. So when you start talking about who built the country, you're talking about who created hip hop, who deserves to get reparations. They don't ever see us, but they know it belongs to us. Okay. So right now we are in the fight of our lives to stop this shit from happening. Point blank, period, bottom line. There's nothing in between. And the Democratic Party are the main ones who are going to facilitate this politically. I don't give a damn what people speak. I don't give a damn what they say. When somebody goes in and they start writing laws that belong to us and they're handing them away to everybody else, that is very problematic. And those type of people, including the Democrats and every shill and minion and extension that works for them, have to be handled accordingly. And that is no vote. Take your vote away from the Democratic Party. I'm going to tell you right now, point blank, the main process that we have to go forth with is not placing no votes for that party. We have to literally watch that party sink. We got to watch that party crumble, because I'm telling you, family, they're going to always run the con game. They're not going to wake up tomorrow at 7 o'clock and say, you know what, we're going to give them tangibles to FBA. We've been real mean to them. Let's just go ahead and write them a reparations. Let's write them a hate crime law. They ain't going to do that. They may write reparations and they may write a hate crime law, but they ain't going to give it to us. They're going to give it to the people that you're trying to elevate us by. So we got to stay focused on them exactly. We got to do it in a precise fashion. And if that means not voting for the Democratic Party, if that means watching that party crumble, then so be it. You feel me, Zilla?
I absolutely do, my brother, because that's the one thing that we have always been, slave to a party. And, you know, they basically traded into the plantation for the notion of inclusion. And that has long been a plague of that generation, which fortunately, that mentality has started to die off in our community. And we're seeing it really only relevant in certain age groups, which is not the loudest, strongest voice of our community at this moment. So I absolutely agree, my brother. With that being said, we will go on to BW next. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself, BW.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Well, that's true what you said, Nahi, about our people. A lot of these people that come over here, these immigrants, now they want to say they Black. And no, they never said they was Black until we start fighting for reparations. Like African Latino, don't nobody really never heard too much about them, but all of a sudden they're Black. So that is so true, because they're trying to latch on to what our claim is. And also, I want to say something too, that they now, Stacey Abrams was talking about, I never said anything about I wouldn't give you reparations, right? But she also trying to include the Indians. So she really ain't trying to do anything for us. Even Biden said, if I give reparations, it's to the Indian. They refuse. They're going to be, it's going to be for the Indians and Black. So they refuse to really acknowledge us and our claim, although we are the fighter and the force behind it. And also I noticed too that Kamala Harris was here at Michigan, although I missed it because I would have went. She was here a couple of days ago, I think it was. And she went to the training center where they trained the youth to work on robotics, right? It's called the Focus Hope. At least that's what it used to be. And then she also went to the Southfield High School where the children are. And so they're working on the youth to get them to vote, because she mentioned voting, because they know we didn't woke up from the nonsense. So now they're trying to program our children. So I'm telling family to educate your children to let them know what's going on, so they can't be sold all this dumbness the politicians are putting on them. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you so much. Kid Gravity, it's on you, brother.
Shout out to BW for that, because that's another tactic that's starting to become more into the light now, with all these politicians talking to our youth. Stacey's been doing this down here for over a decade with New Georgia Project, talking about how voting is restrictive and we got to vote for more progressive ideas. We got to watch that, because I think the Democrats have figured out they can't depend on that old vote anymore. And they know our generation that's going to be the next up as the elders. We have a lot more knowledge than our elders did, and we're not going for the okie doke. So they're going to go back to them kids, especially at the HBCUs. But the good thing about the HBCUs is a lot of those kids are starting to say, I'm not African American, I'm a freedman. So you're going to start hearing a lot of wars on these HBCU campuses between the freedmen children and those from the African and Caribbean diaspora. So we have to make sure when our kids are young, get them into politics. You don't have to go crazy with it, but just teach them about each party and teach them what values they need to know. So when they do grow up and they're ready to go vote, they're going in those booths at 18, 19, 20 and basically being the smartest ones in the room.
I agree, brother. Hey, Kid Gravity and Alpha, I know y'all remember, because we had this conversation I told you about back when my kid, my youngest son, had a field trip. And they took the black kids, you know, the more multicultural students, to the courthouse. But then I saw this Asian lady that works in the store close to my house. And I'm like, okay, that's her. So she recognized me and my wife. Like, hey, how you guys doing? We're down here coming. They're walking out of the bank with her child's class. So our children are learning the legal system, while these other children were learning about finance. So it needs to be the same thing with the politics. We need to be ushering our children into understanding the dynamics of politics and the dynamics of finance as well, because these are going to be things that they will absolutely use as adults, as we are talking about it right now. You feel me, brother?
Oh, you know I do. If anybody remembers that brother out in California that was speaking to one of those like panels, and the guy was like, reparations right goddamn now, I'd be damned if a Dominican or Haitian get in on my reparations claim. And he was spitting that hot fire. One of the things that he said that people looked over, he said he was at a museum and he said not one black kid came through there. They brought in a lot of different groups and a lot of different, other homeland people, and they came in and they did all the speaking and they talked to them. So we're the generation that they lost. This is the era that the Democratic Party has lost. They had the old Edmund Pettisbridge, the civil rights coons, they had them, and they understand they don't have us. So now they're trying to skip over us and go to the next one. That's what they do. Remember, they're always thinking ahead. They're thinking 50 to 100 years down the line. So it's on us to counter that. And let me make this clear. And this is something that they're going to always do. They're always going to try to make it look like our agenda is a complex one. It is not. Our issues are very, very clear. Everybody knows what affects foundational Black Americans. You can literally look at every number in this country and see where we are economically, in terms of education, healthcare, all across the board. Do not let these people come in and overcomplicate what we deal with. Reparations is not complicated. If it was so complicated, then how come the Ukrainians get them? How come the Indians got them? They sit there and say, we want to give them to the Indians. The Indians already got them. See that right there? That's a bold-faced lie. They know that. Joe Biden knows it. Stacey Abrams knows it. All the Democrats and Republicans, they all know that Native Americans have got reparations. That's why you go to their damn resorts and they sit there in casinos and just spending money, swimming in money, okay, that the government gave them. So don't let anybody sit here and say, well, the Indians too. That is just them bold-faced lying to you. And this is what I always say. When you deal with shameless people, you get shameful things. They have no backbone. They are spineless. They don't mind sinking the whole ship as long as they can stop foundational Black Black Americans from getting $1. So that's why I always say they're going to have to give it up or they're going to get it took. And that's the mentality that we have to take, and that's the mentality that we have to possess. We can't sort or kind of. We have to. Everything is clear. We know that we're the ones out here being harmed by race soldiers. Where is our hate crime law? Where is it at? They just wrote a hate crime law for another group. How come they didn't write ours? How can the victims of hate crimes, the number one victims of hate crimes, foundational Black Americans, not get a hate crime law? Come on now. That is being done on purpose. That is not an accident. That's not a coincidence. When you look at us economically and we don't get one goddamn economic bill written for us exclusively, specifically, that is not a coincidence. That is not by accident. They are doing this on purpose. And mind you, the political party that is doing this on purpose is a political party where we've been given 90+% of our vote to. I did an interview with brother Greg Marcel Dixon. It's on my YouTube channel. Check it out. I did an interview and Marcel made a good point. He did a study, a personal study, and he came to find out that the only group that ever votes for a political party, 90%, only occurs in dictatorships. Let me say that one more time. Only in a dictatorship do you get a group that votes 90% consistently for one person. So basically, Black Americans have been voting for the Democratic Party the same way that Iraqis voted for Saddam Hussein, or how they vote for Kim Jong-un in North Korea. They have a dictatorship mentality. That type of plantation thinking is on a whole nother level. That's unacceptable. And mind you, the Democratic Party has been relying on that for years. So what happens when they wake up today and they find out that we're not going for that no more? When foundational Black Americans, certified American Freedmen are saying that type of reliance on us, giving us nothing, but yet we sit in the rain, sleet, hail, snow for you and vote for y'all, and you elevate other groups above us. What happens when that doesn't exist anymore? I'll tell you what happens. Stacey Abrams losing, Raphael Warnock getting his ass whooped by Herschel Walker, who can barely finish a damn sentence. Trust and believe. That is all based on us. That is all because of us. And that's because foundational Black Americans have cut out the bullshit. And we're going to continue to do that. And this election right now will be viewed 20 to 30 years later as the election that swung everything in our favor. I call that the foundational Black American effect. And it is in full swing. Kid Gravity, it's on you, family.
And also, family, I need y'all, if you are going to these polls, take this in there with you. You're voting to keep the sanctity of your state, because I think B. Dilla, I need your help on this. My personal opinion, I think the West Coast isn't viable anymore for Hollywood types. So you're starting to see them slowly migrate east, because a lot of them are starting to establish bases in Texas and Tennessee. And now they're looking at Georgia, and they need Stacey to win the governorship so they can do this mass migration into Georgia and the Southeast. Because what's going on in California, they can't, their fortunes are starting to dwindle, and they see that. So Georgia's a little less restrictive, and they can enjoy those quote unquote conservative values where they can play hypocrite a lot. And especially with the film industry down here, there's a lot of open space and there's a lot of money to be made here. So a lot of these politicians are being funded by Hollywood, and we have to watch out for that, because they're going to bring a lot of that Hollywood mentality over here, and that's a bigger corrupter than just these politicians talking to our kids.
Well, totally. It's funny you mentioned that. That was something that they've been doing with Oregon quietly for years. So, there's a lot. This is a place where they shoot a lot. There's a brand new show that they got coming on CBS based out of here. And then Leverage, that was filmed here. So they've been doing a lot of, I guess, this is kind of like a Hollywood getaway. So a lot of those people down in Hollywood actually be here. Danny Glover he votes here in the city. So they have part-time residencies, and I can totally see them doing that in Georgia. And make no mistake, them building the first sign that y'all knew that there was going to be a big change coming in Georgia is them building that movie studio. Whenever you see Hollywood making investments in an area, you about to be gentrified. Please believe it. It's like a sports team and a hospital coming to your city. Hollywood's coming through, and they're going to need all of that space. So when you see people like Rick Ross buy all of that land, make no mistake, that ain't by accident. because now he has a ton of land that he can offload for this migration. Now, he might use it for farmland, who knows? Well, time will tell. But if I had my money to bet on it, I would say that he scooped that up to get ahead of the curve, buying in on the community's gentrification, because he don't owe Atlanta nothing. He from Florida. So just keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying, brother?
Brother, I'm glad you guys brought this up, because this is where I was going to head with this conversation. I'm glad you did. Obviously, I'm down here in Georgia. And Savannah, as you said, family, that is one of the main, number one and number two main motion picture filming places right now, okay? I think The Rock was just down here. All these, celebrities are down here. And that is exactly the case. But it shines a light on something that's a little bigger. It shines a light on something that is going on right now, another democratic strategy, where a lot of that stuff that going on the West Coast, they're trying to bring out to the East. And when I say the East, I'm not just talking about New York and all that. I'm talking about anything east of Kansas City, particularly in the South, particularly in the state of Georgia. People got to understand, Georgia is the Mecca for foundational Black Americans. Okay, trust me when I tell you that. It is the Mecca. It is the center, cornerstone, epicenter of foundational Black American freedmen. It is right here in the South, and Georgia is the champion of the South. Salute to everybody in every, South Carolina, North Carolina, Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas, one love. But Atlanta and Georgia as a whole is the Mecca. And a lot of things and a lot of policies that you see them pushing, they are trying to change the atmosphere of the state of Georgia, because they understand this is a stronghold. As a matter of fact, on the show that I did with Marcel, we talked about the reverse migration strategy. Okay. And we weren't telling everybody just to leave what you do and come down south. We're not saying that. We're saying if you had the means to do so, this is a strategic place where we can get our numbers up massively. We already have the numbers in the South. This is where everybody started at down south. Okay. So everybody can come on down to the South. We can get a stronghold and get some real political power going right down here. And trust me, if we're having those discussions, they are very aware of it. And this is why you have the Stacey Abrams of the world who are going around basically trying to all lives matter the whole state of Georgia, and they're going to try to all lives matter the whole South. Trust me when I tell you that. I see my brother Davey down there. He's from Savannah. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. This is what Raphael Warnock is trying to do. They're running campaigns that have nothing to do with foundational Black American freedmen. They are trying to turn this into an all lives matter. They're trying to take that stuff that's going on out there on the West Coast or in some of those border places down in Texas and pull it here. And there's a couple, ramifications of that, and there's some aftershocks that we could take advantage of. I'm not going to get to it right now. We're going to talk about that later. But I'm just laying out the blueprint of what they're trying to do. That situation out there with the city council people, did y'all see how arrogant those folks were? They were saying, we ain't stepping down. Fuck no. We ain't doing none of that. Hell no. We're going to take our position. They didn't step down until that lady said something about another group. And then she stepped down. But as long as it was solely just about us, she wasn't going to do nothing, because they got a sense of security out there. All those other groups that get, catered to out there on the West Coast, out there in Texas, that type of stuff means that they have protection from the dominant society because they're doing the dominant society's work. They are minions of the dominant society. When we sit here and say that the Democratic Party is trying to elevate immigrants above us, trust and believe that comes with protection. That comes with protection. That's why out in the West Coast, they harm Black folks. Nothing ever gets done about it because it's POC controlled. When they go in front of the judge, POC controlled. When they run in front of a race soldier, POC controlled. And even the politicians are POC controlled. That is what they're trying to do out here in Georgia. That's what they're trying to do in South Carolina. That's why you're seeing an influx of them bringing in immigrants here so they can run that same play on the West Coast. The West Coast is what I call liberal la-la land. That's where the liberals do all their stuff. Everybody knows that. But what you're starting to see now is them trying to take that liberal identity, that liberal environment, and they're trying to bring it elsewhere. That was just a run. That was like casing the joint. When somebody about to rob some shit and they just case the joint, that's what they're doing. They're trying to transfer all of that over here, and they're using the Stacey Abrams of the world, the Raphael Warnocks of the world, so they can facilitate that type of change down here in the South. So we got to be very cautious of when you start seeing movie studios popping up down here. You got to be very cautious when you start seeing Stacey Abrams skipping over talking to any of us on our issues. I mean, she went to a goddamn Young Jeezy concert. She went to a Young Jeezy concert, and in the same week, she went to go meet with a bunch of Arabs at one of their festivals, and she told them what type of tangibles she was going to give them. She did a whole goddamn ad speaking in Spanish, talking about she was going to elevate the Spanish people down here in Georgia, and Raphael Warnock just came out and said he's going to fight for Asians. Ladies and gentlemen, if that is not a West Coast immigrant first policy, I've never seen one before. And that's what they're trying to institute right here in the South, the same way they instituted out there in California. And it's on us to stop that and prevent that. And one of the ways we can do that is by not voting for the Democratic Party. Do you feel me, Brother Zilla? Because I know you're on the West Side.
I totally do, brother. And it's so much evident out here that you got these people out here, the Republicans, for the first time, absolutely have a shot at winning not only a Senate seat, but also the governorship of this state. And that is how it's shaping up right now, because the only thing that the Democrats can talk about out here is Roe v. Wade. Nothing else seems to even exist. We have homeless crisis going galore, rents through the roof, infrastructure. You know, everybody needs that because they built these freeways to destroy black towns, and now they can't keep those up. Just think of the irony in that. All of these freeways that they can't keep up are literally put there to destroy the black towns that were flourishing in the first place. What irony. We don't owe these folks no damn votes. I mean, we owe them our ass to kiss. Truth be told, let's just keep it a buck. So with that being said, Reg Rock, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, brother.
Hey, I never heard, but has Herschel Walker ever given his take on immigration?
Yeah, he said he's not for it.
Yeah, he's closed border all day.
Okay, good. Because if we get, I mean, I hate to say it, but if we got to get stuck with him for the moment, because one space I was in and the consensus was, if we're going to vote, we need to vote on people that want to close these borders, because that may be a more urgent issue for us to look at on the way to getting reparations. And yeah, you're definitely right about Georgia. Since I travel a lot, I'm in Atlanta on the south side by the airport. It went from me coming home every week with notes and signs on my door about we want to buy your house to now I'm even getting unsolicited phone calls and asking them how did they get my number, asking me do I want to sell my house. So definitely in Augusta too, because they're supposed to be building that data center for the military out there. So that's another area to watch. And Savannah, which unbeknownst to me was as hot as it was until we tried to plan a family reunion out there. And in Savannah, you got to book 2 years in advance. When most other cities, you got to be like a year. So definitely Georgia is hot. And if we get the borders closed, and they definitely trying to do that, and if we got to get ahead of what they did in California, we have to. We still got a chance to do it. Oh, and one question I wanted to get the opinion of some of the family. I've been thinking about trying to get the church, so to speak, back involved in our grassroots movement, because that, if we did have some on-code church people, that's like a group of people right there that they had in the 60s that we don't have now. And of course, a lot of them not on code, they still got their old values. And for me, just from dealing with personally with family, I don't drop Malcolm on them. I don't drop Elijah on them. I show them Martin Luther King when he said, coming to get our check. And they seem to get scared from that. So is anybody else running to that? And what do y'all think about trying to find some grassroots help from the church, if they can do it?
Me personally, I don't think they can do it at this stage in the game because of the 501c3 tie that they had. So you got to remember, this is why they took the church out of the game in the first place, because that is a voter block. And if
Right.
you got, so that they had to make sure they got them under control. So right now the church is just completely infiltrated. I mean, it's a novel idea, don't get me wrong, but it is absolutely boule infested. So, I mean, you really can't do much with it because you'll always have the buffer Democrat shields. They are embedded in the black church now. I don't see it happening. What about you, brother?
Imagine if you had a T.D. Jakes, somebody like that.
Oh, definitely.
On our side.
See, that's the thing. And see, those people, that's just the problem. They went and put their people in place. I could tell you for a fact, T.D. Jakes is put into place. And I used to play with these cats like the Larry Huck dude. He's the white version that they moved down to Texas. So no, This is back in the 90s when they were looking to put people in place. So TD Jakes is literally from West Virginia. They set him up in Dallas.
Okay.
He had a little small studio that he was filming out of West Virginia. The powers that be invested in that dude. They built him a big mega church in Dallas, Texas, and the rest is history. So now everybody doesn't even really know. He ain't even from Texas.
Right.
He ain't grassroots of Texas. He came and was made. So no, they out. You back to you, my brother.
Now that was just a question I wanted to share because I am kind of, since I come from a church background, I'm not in it like they was, especially when they're disappointing me. But why we don't have any Martin Luther King type preachers out there now, even though Martin Luther King, I guess he wouldn't really have been considered grassroots, but he wasn't bougie. He still was worried about the grassroots and kept us in focus during his time of stomping for us. So that's what I'll always admire about him. And hopefully, I wish some of these modern preachers would have that same attitude. And
well, now let's keep it real, brother. Now you talking about a family man versus what we see now, and we got basically Billy Porter as a preacher. So times have changed, brother.
Yeah, so
brother, too, you got to understand. I'm down here too. A lot of these Atlanta churches are compromised. They're pro-abortion. So that's already a conflict of interest. So we can't even trust Atlanta churches.
Right. Yeah, because I had one preacher in my family was stomping for Biden, upset with me because I told him I wasn't voting on Biden. And now after Biden won, I'm like, well, what you think about your man Biden now? Look what he's doing to us. Oh, I'm just worried about spiritual stuff now. And I'm like, good thing Martin Luther King ain't do that for us, say that to us, because he could have said that himself, especially when he started getting dissed by some of his peers back in the day. That's all I got right now, fam. Appreciate your feedback.
I'm gonna go ahead and respond to that, family. That was a good question. That's a noble question, family. But what I will say is this: when you start talking about having, people join into the movement, one thing I learned about the Black grassroots and just certified Black society as it means, people are going to come to us. We don't have to come to them. We don't have to wait for people. You know what I'm saying? Anybody who wants to be down, anybody who's certified, they're going to show themselves. We have this thing in the community where, we wait for new recruits. New recruits are going to come in. You feel me? If somebody is really genuinely, sincerely concerned about the plight and the empowerment of us, they're going to show themselves. So if somebody is a religious person, they're in the religious field, they're going to come over here to our side. We're not going to have to go into the church and go get them and say, come on, hold their hand and walk them back over here. They're going to come on over here and they're going to understand that they got to put a lot of other, ties and, dual allegiances to the side so they can represent the community. And that goes everywhere. I don't care. You got brothers and sisters in the military. If you're in the military and you foundational Black American first, then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put this above, your military service. A lot of people, when they get dual, ties and citizenships, they always put us second. So people are going to always, choose the side that they want to be on, opposed to us actually having to go out and generally get them. And I do know down here in the South and really across the country, typically, let's just be real, historically, when you start talking about a Democratic shield, a lot of times there are people who are heavy in the church. Let's just be honest with you. That's just kind of what it is. It goes hand in hand because I know a lot of churches are actually hubs and they're centers where they do voter drives for the Democratic Party, where they, they run up votes for the Democrats. So the Democrats understand the goal. As a matter of fact, what do politicians do whenever they want to con us? They go into the damn church and start dancing. And a lot of them folks be bucking their eyes, doing the coon walk and tap dancing all over the place. So I feel like the new era of young folks coming up that are actually in the religious world or whatnot, if they understand that they're foundational Black American first, they're going to go ahead and they're going to trolley on over to this side and they're going to separate the nonsense from the real talk, opposed to us actually having to go get them. But that is a good question, brother. But I feel like anybody's going to expose themselves to being real, and those who are not are going to fall to the wayside. Cool Keys, it's on you, brother.
Peace, bro. Brief. I'd like to add to what you were saying about the West being liberal. I'm out here in Denver, Colorado, and I don't know if you guys remember, but Denver was one of the first cities to legalize weed. And Black people out here, they went out in droves and voted for that and was stumping hard for that. Meanwhile, our neighborhoods are gentrified at the same time. And when the weed was legalized, you got to weed dispensary popped up on every corner. They're like liquor stores out here. And when you look at the people that own it, it's all mostly white people and black people. There's probably like two black owned dispensaries out here. So we just got to have our priorities straight. And we don't need to be following those liberal ideas. And that's all I got.
Bro, I got family out there in Denver. I got a lot of family out there in Denver. So I mean, I know what you're talking about with how, man, the church has just been so swayed it ain't funny. But looking at how they went out there and voted, I guess they probably figured, oh well, it'll be good for the youngsters and the youth. But here's the catch: they legalize weed, but you're still getting piss tests for jobs. So they're saying, hey, all you kids go out there and smoke yourself out of the labor force because they haven't decriminalized it. So it's legal. You got it on every other corner, like a liquor store, but you still are getting piss tested for your job for weed. So that's the kind of catch-22 on that for a lot of these youngsters.
Hey, I'm gonna add to it, family, where they legalize marijuana, but at the same time, foundational Black Americans are still serving damn near life sentences for what's legalized today. While you have people from the dominant society that are getting arrested for it, and they're doing, community service. They're going to clean up a park or something like that. So you still see those disparities within the judicial system in terms of marijuana, while foundational Black Americans are being punished for it. That's why it is very serious for us to create the tangibles that we say, because they'll give us something and they'll point to it as some type of symbolic gesture. But in reality, you'll come to find out that foundational Black Americans aren't actually receiving any true benefits from it. When you look at any drug possession, foundational Black Americans do drugs at the lowest rates, but get arrested at the highest rates. Think about that. And then once you get arrested, we get higher sentences for the same exact crime as everybody else. So these liberal policies, once again, and half of these are liberal states or there's some type of a liberal connection, they do not work for foundational Black Americans. And one of the reasons they do not work for foundational Black Americans is because they're always sold to us as something that's to our benefit, but in essence, they're really not. They're just hustles and con games. And that's pretty much what the Democratic Party, they live on in terms of confusing us and running us that same type of game. The more things change, the more they stay the same. My brother, sir, it's on you, family. Go ahead, brother, sir. You can unmute yourself.
Hey, real quick, if either Alpha or Queen, if y'all can see Sister Miriam, she has a request. I can't see it from here, so if y'all can see her, if y'all can let her up. Go ahead, sir.
Y'all hear me?
Yes,
there
sir.
You go, brother.
Hey, appreciate the family having me on. Two quick things. One, what's happening in California and LA in particular with this, with what happened with the Mexican, the Mexican mafiosi on the city council. It has a precedent. They were trying to do what I call the Miami move. I lived in Miami back in the early to mid 80s, and the Cubans, the Cubans had gotten to critical mass population wise because they'd been brought over here by our, flood the borders. They were the early test of, flood the country with immigrants policy. And they took over, and they basically took over Miami first and then Dade County. And so the way that you align yourself, the way that you showed that you're aligning yourself with team white supremacy is, you get your people to be public servants like cops, and you get them in the city government, and then you go out and show how you're going to be cruel to Black people, basically. So what you ended up seeing was Miami Cuban cops going around killing Black people and getting away with it. That was basically the foundation of the uprisings, the two uprisings that happened. in the early 80s. That was the Cubans announcing, we are here, we are in control, we are down with team white supremacy, and, you know, this is what we're going to do to the local foundational population. And then, you know, foundational black-owned businesses were, you know, they had I-95 plowing right through Overtown, and they basically made it such that black folks had to flee to areas anywhere other than Dade County, and we're not down there in nearly the numbers you see black people down there now. They're mostly from the Caribbean, of course, Jamaica, Bahamas, and whatnot, and so, you know, basically what you saw last week with the LA City Council is the same thing that it's been done before, and, you know, wash, rinse, repeat, and, you know, we have to start answering that. The other thing, real quick, is it is important to be politically involved, of course, but I think the component that will get us over the top as far as getting what we deserve from this country that owes us everything is not going to be entirely political. There's going to have to be a pressure and a resilience and a willing to fight above and beyond participating in the political process, if that makes any sense. I mean, you know, because we're playing into a system that has already been designed from the start to deliver harm to us pretty much from every angle. And so while it is important to short circuit that and make it work for us, if we ignore the reality of what we have to do above and beyond that to make this country finally our country, you know, we do so at our own peril. And, you know, those are the only two things I have. Appreciate everything you do, Alpha. And, you know, I'll land right here.
I always appreciate you, family. Always appreciate you. That's a good point. That's a good point for people who are familiar with South Florida. That is exactly one of the first runs that they did. And our brother made a good point as well. All these minions who come over here and all these immigrants, the main thing they have to do is practice anti-black racism. That is their number one job. Practice anti-black racism, and that will give you some brownie points. And that's what they all want. They want brownie points. They want that pat on the head from the dominant society, because a lot of them really want close proximity to the dominant society anyway, because in their homelands, they already practice anti-black racism, and they're what I call WWS, wannabe white supremacists. So a lot of them come over here, and they got a nice, comfortable place where they can, snuggle up next to the dominant society and be anti-black. And then next thing you know, they receive benefits and they receive trinkets for that type of behavior. And that is exactly what did go on down in South Florida. And if you look at South Florida today, everybody knows North Florida, South Florida are completely different. Anybody who's been out there knows exactly what I'm talking about. There's a saying, they say in Florida, the more north you go, the more south it becomes. Okay. And that is exactly what's going on down here in the Southeast Georgia. Is not like nowhere near the same as South Florida at all. So everybody understands that, everybody recognizes that, and that's something that's going on right now out there in the West Coast. And we got to be very, very, very aware of these type of practices and these type of plays, because those plays are definitely going to come to our doorstep, and you're seeing it right now. The Democrats are not bringing over all these people just for fun. They're not doing it just because. They do that with a hustle in mind. Come on now. Do y'all really think they love these people? Do you really think they got the best means for these people? They're always going to tell you how these people are struggling. They're always going to tell you how these people are fleeing from their homeland. Half these people are fleeing from their homelands based on things that America did any damn way. So what it really is, it's a play for them to get over here, and they can elevate them above foundational Black Americans. Me and Queen Alpha had a conversation not too long ago, and she made a good point to me where they wanted to do this a long time ago. They just didn't have their tether numbers up. They didn't have the tether numbers up. If you go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was only in small pockets. They couldn't really do what they wanted to do in terms of trying to replace us, and that's both politically and socially. Now, with these open borders where they just let everybody in, they're flying over and literally bringing people. Mind you, Joe Biden has flew planes over, picked folks up, and brought them here. And then when they get here, he's putting them in Airbnbs. They didn't have the numbers to do that back in the day. Now they do. with the advantation and with the increased rate of immigration. So now you're going to start to see a play that you did not necessarily see 20, 30 years ago. That's why I would say this era is a different era. There's really no manuscript, and we're really, playing this as we go. So that's why we got to be even more precise and concise with what we're seeing and what we're doing. And that's why we got to be even more codified, because they're going to continue to bring people in. Joe Biden still has a few years left. And trust and believe, by the time Joe Biden is out of office, he will be the president who brought in the most immigrants to this country. And it has been statistically proven that immigrants to this country affect foundational Black Americans in a negative light in every aspect of the community. So if he knows that, but yet he still brings them in, that means he's doing it on purpose, and he doesn't give a damn on how that affects our households. So therefore, we shouldn't give a damn on how not voting affects the Democratic Party. You feel me, Zilla?
I absolutely do, my brother. And that's another thing. See, too many of our folks be into the conversation of feeling. And, speaking of that, I don't even know why the brother tried it. And I'm assuming we already had two suspected tethers already try to hit the stage today. Again, when we're talking about this positive building space, we have a lot of these other immigrants, because now they have to look at it as, we never centered African immigrants. We mentioned all immigration has been negative towards us. So what they're now trying to move into the conversation of, why is delineation a bad thing? It's not for us. And there is no such thing really as delineation, because we were never with any other group. We are a singular group. Everybody talks to us as if we should accept being part of a bigger, larger group, but we're not. And you know how we're not? When it comes time for money time and laws times, our names don't get mentioned. That's how we know we are only talking about ourselves. So we don't have to worry about the Black immigrants. That's not our job. We don't have to worry about the Hispanic immigrants. That ain't our job. And damn these Ukrainians and the Afghans, and they ain't got nothing to do with it. So with that being said, no, man, we need to just solely focus on us. And if people have an issue with that, that's not a problem. Because it's not about a delineation thing. It's about an empowerment for our group thing, period. And so if that requires cutting other folks out of our mix, so be it.
Hey, truth be told, family, and I'm going to say this as well. When you start talking, boy, you throwing me them alley-oops today, family. I'm going to slam dunk these damn things too, bro. The way you look at it right now, I'm glad you said it. I'm going to segue onto that, family. The way you look at the way laws are written in this country, foundational Black Americans are the only people who are expected to share. We have to share like this is a goddamn playground. And I'm not talking about with toys. I'm talking about grown-ass people who have to share policies, tangibles, and resources with everybody else. Can anybody tell me one law, one piece of legislation or policy that has ever been written for another group where they're required to share it with us? Do these other groups have to share their hate crime laws? Do they have to share their stimulus packets? Do they have to share the resources, the funding of their communities? No, they never have to. What's theirs is theirs, and what ours is also theirs. That is the mentality in this country. And mind you, again, these are democratic policies where we have to share with everybody else. They've literally created terms that allow them to transmit tangibles from us over into other communities. That's what person of color means. Person of color is basically, translation, we can take things from Black folks and give them to everybody else. Minority is basically, we can take things from Black folks and give them to everybody else. The Black and Brown coalition is basically, we can take things from Black folks and give them to everybody else. They've literally created terminologies and words that allow them to steal off of our plate and go give it to a tether. That's why every time you ever question a politician about foundational Black Americans, the first thing they do is immediately pivot to one of those words. You say, what about tangibles for foundational Black Americans? They say, what about tangibles for minorities? You say, what about education for foundational Black Americans? They say, hey, I believe all disenfranchised people should be educated. You say, what about hate crimes for foundational Black Americans who are the victims of hate crimes? They say, I believe all people of color, minorities, whatever term they come up with next, they believe those people deserve what belongs to us. And therefore, they created terminologies that are seen basically as a bridge that takes things from our household right across to another household while those people keep it for themselves and we're left with nothing. And that has been the Democratic policy since day one. Benign, neglect, and deflect. That's what they do. Go ahead, Zilla.
Big facts, brother. Big facts. That benign neglect thing is a beast. And right now, that's one of the biggest things I think a lot of the, piggyback to the brother's question, Reg, with the church crowd. See, we just naturally think different than they do. We are a different class of black folks than that group. That group still looks to be comfortable under the system of white supremacy. They don't look to fight it, combat it, or even disrupt it. Now look at, like I said, Roland Martin. These guys, him and Greg Carr, they are literally up there talking about how to preserve the system of white supremacy. Even remember, Roland Martin had Jane Elliott on his program. He had that woman talking about black women's responsibility to make sure that the white race doesn't die out.
Shameful.
This is the type of shit Roland Martin is on. So that type of group and class of black folks is just done.
Hey, brother, before you go to the next guy, man, I got to catch that, family. Now, mind you, when he had Richard Spencer on his show, he wouldn't even admit that he was a black man. You remember that?
Facts.
That's what you get when you get these Democratic shills. They have no type of allegiance. As I always said, and I'm sure the family's heard me say this before, the same way O.J. Simpson said he ain't black, he's O.J., these folks say they not black, they're Democrats. They genuinely believe that being a Democrat is their race. That's what separates this from everybody else. Our race has become so tied in to the Democratic Party. It has truly been this way because they made it this way. Every time a Democrat wins an election, it's seen as some type of, victory for our lineage. Every time they lose an election, it's seen as something bad for our lineage. Anybody who's old enough to remember, every time a Democrat wins, we walk around and we say, what, supremacy's over. Remember, they was just pulling that in 2020 when Joe Biden won. They were saying how racism and white supremacy went away. They did the same exact thing when Barack Obama won. They said white supremacy and racism went away. But when Donald Trump won, they said it was here now. See what I'm talking about? They take our oppression and things that occur to us and all the pain and suffering that we've had to deal with, and they quickly and tightly associate that with the Democratic Party because these folks literally think that their lineage is Democrat. They don't go down and check foundational Black American. They don't check Freedmen. They check Democrat. If they had their way, they would pray to the Democratic Party. They probably do, be honest with you. They pray to the Democratic Party because it's their religion. They'll check off Democratic Party because they think it's their lineage. And we all know that the Democratic Party is their plantation. So these are the type of people that we have to run out the paint. We got to get out of Dodge, and we cannot allow them to continue to push that forth to us. That's why they run around and say, your ancestor died for you. They don't say that for anybody else. Now, isn't it funny that all these other groups run around here and they say how oppressed they are, but nobody ever tells them that their ancestors died for them to vote for the Democrats? They say that they had it just as bad as we done had it, but they don't ever have that type of thinking. So it's funny when it comes to foundational Black Americans, they use slavery to get you to vote for the Democrats in the year 2020 plus. Think about that. The foundational Black American slave was exploited when they were alive and breathing, and they're still exploited today because they take the tangibles that the foundational Black American ancestors left for us and they give them to everybody except for us. And that is a democratic con game. Blockchain, it is on you.
Yeah, thanks, brothers, for letting me speak. It is a big thing with this border shit, man. You have to look at who funding these people to come over here and do all the shit that they doing. Why they can get some fundings, but we got Black Americans sleeping on the bridges all over, people getting kicked off their HUD, people getting attacked all over for the shit that they doing, but they don't got no programs for Black people. And we included these people with us for the longest, saying Black and brown, just to be turned around and get this shit done to us like this. And then the Black people who we thought was with us was actually against us. They put these people in the places like the Department of Financial Institutions that supposedly give money to the so-called African Americans or colored or whatever you want to call it, and they put them in charge, and then you have to prove to them that you black. I had to go through that shit. That's how I know what's going on. Not only me, my brother, a lot of us who was opening up business and was trying to go get help from them. Like, damn, they got this money, let's go get it. Instead, we was greeted by people who wasn't even us, wasn't even foundational black, was from a different country, and we had to prove to them that we was black. I'm like, nigga, what the fuck else we need to show you who we is? You know what I'm talking about? And these people were all up in our government sectors that's doing that shit, and they claiming to be us, man. And like you say about Roland Martin, all these people, man, they ain't got no good intentions for us, man. The Democrats will never go with us for no reparations. They ain't got our good intentions. So, man, they just got to deal with what's coming along for them. And I'm glad that our people is finally waking up to the shit that's going on. And now they going to have to really, people paying attention to what will we have to give our votes to, or who we giving our votes, if we going to give them our vote. So with that, I'll land.
Fire. Straight up fire. And I mean, and that is the whole point. Again, for all of you Democratic agents and shields that are in this space listening and recording to your paid masters, this is the voice of the people. Ain't nobody putting no words in people's mouths. This is the voice of the people that you are hearing. So live with it.
And I want to piggyback on what our brother just said, because our brother made some real points. Look at it. Look at the atmosphere, family. We out here having to prove people that we foundational black Americans when you got people who damn well ain't foundational black Americans getting cut to the front of the line and getting free access. Trust me again, as I said, that is not a coincidence. That is not happenstance. That is not an accident. That is a play. And I want the whole family to understand this. Everything that we see going on in terms of immigration, in terms of these tethers, it has all been mapped out. Okay, the same way our brother Kid Gravity was talking about them mapping out how to talk to our kids and kind of steer them in that Democratic shield positioning. That's the same exact thing that they were doing back in the day. That's why I said they created these terms that literally facilitate things that belong to us and give them away. And then we've been running around here saying these people are our brothers. These people are not our brothers. All right, they say you're being divisive. I cannot be divisive with something I was never connected to. We've never been connected. Foundational Black Americans, we are the one lineage that has been out here on an island. We've been out here on the island by ourselves doing everything on our own. Nobody has ever came to ever assist us, to help us. No one cares about our welfare. We are truly all we got. And since we all we got, nobody can come around and say, well, we did that for y'all. No, you didn't. You didn't co-create hip hop. You didn't contribute. You didn't lift a finger. You ain't put a brick in this building. Everything that's here, we've done, and we know that. So if they think that they're going to come to the Black grassroots and try to tell us that our history is really their history, that everything that we've done really belongs to them, they got another thing coming. And that another thing coming right now, you're starting to see with these elections and just the whole social atmosphere of this country. Once we started to self-identify, the game changed. See, when you are African Americans, when you are persons of colors, when you in the black and brown coalition, they can do as they please. They can hustle, they can con you, and this is why we're in the position that we're in now. Once we started to truly identify ourselves, well, we really told everybody we ain't none of that. We are what we say we are. This is what this really is. This is the what the fuck we say go era. Before, people used to tell us who our friends were, tell us who our allies were, tell us what we need to get behind, tell us what we needs to do. Now we telling them, no, we're going to do what the fuck we want to do, like it or not. And that is a game changer, and that game has been changed, and we are the ones who made it happen. So we're going to continue to make it happen, and we're going to do it in the FBA way, certified. So anybody out there in the black mainstream, they can spend millions and billions and trillions of dollars, but you see they're not getting no real fund for it. Look at Barack Obama. Where he at? Where Barack Obama at? Have y'all seen Kamala Harris? I ain't seen Kamala Harris since goddamn what? Springtime? We done ran them out the paint. We done ran them off the block. They used to make one phone call, because y'all know they pick up that phone to call 1-900-COON. And then Vanessa Jones going to answer. Bakari Sellers going to answer. Somebody going to answer. Luke, somebody going to answer. And they would send them in to infiltrate our spaces so they can run the con game. Well, we done disconnected that goddamn line. So that ain't working no more. So therefore, everything that we say goes, and all the Democratic shields, I don't give a damn if you on CNN, ABC, NBC, you on the internet live stream, or your ass is in the White House. If you are a Democratic shield and you think you're going to con the foundational Black American, Black grassroots, you have another thing coming, and we're all watching it happen in real time. These folks genuinely, truly believe that they are Democrats. That's what they, believe. That's what goes through their blood. That's who they are. They believe they have Democratic wives, Democratic husbands, Democratic kids. The same way that we are foundational Black Americans is the same way they view the Democrats, and they will go down with that ship. That's what it is. They will never change. The Democratic Party is going to be who they are for a lot of reasons. One is because that's exactly what they abide by. And then two, that's what they put all their chips on the table. Their chips are on the table. They said, we're going to do this immigrant thing. We're going to bring in everybody. We're going to try to replace foundational Black Americans. And the reason why they want to do that, and the family has to understand, is because FBA, we are the only lineage on the earth that has ever fought back against white supremacy. We are the only. I don't want to hear about somebody who fought back for 2 days. I ain't talking about 2 or 3 folks that you know who fought back. I'm talking about people who genuinely have always fought back. We represent who we are. Hell, half these tethers who come here, they don't even think they're Black, like our sister BW was saying. They talk about an Afro-Latino and all that. They wasn't Afro anything until they seen us get it popping in the Black grassroots. Then they want to associate that. And let me tell you something. If the dominant society even waves at them, then all of a sudden they're going to drop that Afro real quick. They don't give a damn about none of that. These folks in their homelands think that they're white. These folks in their homeland will tell you, I'm not Black, I'm Nigerian, I'm not Black, I'm Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm whatever the fuck you want to be, but they never represent being Black. We are the only people who have ever wore that banner. And then when we put foundational on it, and then we added certified, then when we added freedmen, then the game really got changed. And right now the game is really changed. So this is why they're bringing in all these other people, because that self-identification, representing who you are, representing your lineage, heritage, and culture, that is something that they never expected. Trust and believe. The reason why they gave the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther Kings, the Black Panther Party, the reason why they gave them so much hell in the 1960s and 70s, because they didn't want us to do what we're doing right now. So in essence, we are white supremacy's nightmare, and we are our ancestors' best dreams. So let's keep on doing it the way we do it. Dave, it's on you, brother.
Ooh, boy, goodness gracious, man. I'm not gonna cap, man. Man, these spaces be so full of fucking knowledge, man. Like it's so many things I wanted to speak on. I'm gonna be brief to the ones that's closest to my heart. So South Florida is no longer South Florida. It hasn't been South Florida for a long time. We call it like the North Caribbean a lot of times. So what you said about the more north you go in Florida, the more south you go actually in the States, that is 110% factual information. I'm in Central Florida, and I'm probably about to get the fuck out. Like, the things that I've seen this week has completely changed my whole perspective of how this whole entire movement with the Democrats has been going. I have Hispanics who are 3rd and 4th generation Hispanic Americans that are complaining about immigration. They are so fucking upset and disgusted about immigration. And that was something that I was not prepared for that to come directly to my doorstep. Especially when I'm at work, I see it. I live in, like, my neighborhood is like, shit, it's damn near now, as of this month, it's like 56 something percent Spanish. You get what I'm saying? And they are against immigration. So I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? So man, my brother got into a situation, beat up a supremacist, so he had to, we went to go so he can do what he had to do. The cop who was speaking with me, because I was not about to go anywhere until I made sure my brother was good, he told me he was lucky that I came on his shift. He told me there are whole entire Hispanic teams of cops that work in certain areas. Listen to what I'm saying. They have different shifts that they would predominantly put all Hispanic cops on. Oh, man, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that point right there. Last time I had a meeting with one of our city officials, man, I do tech, I do blockchain shit, crypto shit, like all of that type of stuff, right? I teach at parks, random people and stuff like that. I wanted to get into one of the YMCA's. The first thing are 1 out of 2 what they call them aldermen in Savannah, but commissioners. The first thing came out his mouth was black and brown. I almost fucking cussed his ass out, but I knew it wasn't gonna be that type of way. So I just kept getting more information, right? I literally showed him a map of the city where I detailed every single camp that has coding for kids that had an active summer camp. I showed him a map. They are all around the black neighborhoods, but not within. and he told me black and brown. I showed him the newest city in Central Florida that has the number 2 or number 1 school district in Central Florida now. Guess what? It's a Spanish fucking school. The whole town is Spanish. All of the grocery stores, the cops, all of bro, they literally go pick these kids up from school to take them to coding camp that teach them how to code in Spanish and then go drop them off. And that's with them getting lunch, bro. And they're getting government funding for this. I'm like, bro, what do you mean black and brown, man? Like it's not that. Okay, so so Central Florida, we are starting to get to that point. So I've been trying my best to meet with, I don't give a damn what party you with, somebody who has closed borders. I met a few. I'm gonna try to get them in a few spaces or whatever the case is. One of them name is Montague. He's a quote unquote Frederick Douglass Republican. So I was like, all right, I know what you're talking about. We got another person, Javon, who's in Central Florida. He was doing numbers on where reparation plans are going to come from, talking about, hey, yo, we could literally take some of this money from the foreign aid budget. You know what he meant by that, right? So they're a little savvy. You know what I'm saying? They might not come all across, but they do grassroots checks. They're going to speak on black first, right? So that's on the Central Florida point, man. Man, to Savannah, Georgia, man. So after that whole conference, Warnock, Marcel put up on them. I had no clue about it. I wish I could have been there. I would have drove my ass from Orlando to Savannah. You get what I'm saying? To pull up. So I called my people in the city. They are, bro, this shit is gonna, man, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm gonna have to drop after this one. This shit gonna bother me, yo. They're renaming a fucking neighborhood, a main predominant street from Caton Fraser that was a predominant black powerhouse back when James Overthorpe even built the fucking city, right? They're changing it to fucking his last name. So I'm over there like, so I asked
Whoa, family, for real?
Yes, bro. They're changing Caton Fraser, either one of those streets. They're changing it to his fucking last name.
I can co-sign that. I saw the news story the other day. I know Black Alpha went off.
Wow. So guess what, man? I'm gonna have to drop after this point. This shit gets even worse. They've already fucking scraped the internet, yo. When you go look up the history of Caton Fraser, all you see right now is condos for sale. All you see is the top 10 dry cleaners for sale. All you see is SCAD. So that's where I'm going to start putting my eyes. That is the gentrification in Savannah. They're doing it through the educational system, saying that they're supporting our neighborhoods because that's where the money is going. The money should follow the child. But SCAD has bought up more of the hood than anybody fucking else. And I'm waiting on these receipts because I got, I'm not going to, yeah. So just know. So I can't allow this shit to continue to happen, especially when I say things to my mother and she's starting to agree with me. And she was born in the 60s. She was part of some of this different things that they were just trying to do the best they could and just wasn't aware of all this stuff going on. Putting that awareness out there, I thank you for the all new black media. I don't give a, bro, it's valuable information to take from fucking everybody. Man, media is a toolbox. You grab what tool you can use to work for your situation, man. And I'm gonna go ahead and land for that one, man. Appreciate the time, my brothers.
Hey, always love family. Yes. Hey, you come back to Savannah, pull up on me, man. We'll meet on River Street, brother. We'll run them out the paint. Go ahead, Zilla.
And what's so funny is what he said, because my father's in Savannah. And, just talking about politics, having a conversation, chopping it up. Now he's always been a little more progressive, progressive conservative, I guess you could say. So we always kind of thought more alike. But with this new landscape of Georgia, he's just like, man, Herschel Walker is an idiot, but this Warnock dude is an idiot puppet, and he much worse. So just to let y'all know, like that generation because I think my dad graduated in '66. So just that generation of adults, they're starting to look at things differently because they are seeing the evidence right before their face. And my dad's ex-wife was a staunch anti-immigrationist. I mean, stomp down staunch, which was, it's very interesting because that's on the West Coast, I guess you could say the Boule crowd, they are not pro-immigration at all. If you notice on the West Coast, they don't have a lot of black folks in prominent positions. All of those people are white Hispanics. You see how that worked? So, because the people over here, we know how much of a problem it is. We see it every day. So, because we don't have the black enclaves. Only people who got enclaves out here is them. Facts, brother. And I totally agree. That's what we talk about, man. This is a multifaceted system of oppression that has worked as a finely tuned oil machine for over 500 years. So definitely, while there have been the great Satan moving to and fro, looking who they could devour throughout the earth, best believe when they brought us here, and for those of us who are already here and reclassified, oh yeah, they lucked up on this. This is literally heaven for them. This is heaven for Satan, because look at what we're doing. We're destroying the heavens for them. But just by simply standing up as we should and saying no more, no more, no more. That's why everybody talks to us. Have you all noticed over the course of the last few months, when people talk about our reparations claim, they always start talking in a pity tone for what some other group has went through in their own situation, like as if that now should entitle you to what our situation is. That is one of the most grimy, disrespectful, low down moves ever. If anybody ever gets you into that conversation, that is a predatory conversation. That's a person that's looking to con you. And they definitely don't respect you if that's what they're bringing to you. So we've just been put in these positions where we have not ever been in a position where we're knowing how to own our respect in a room of a bunch of people who do not like us. Well, I come from out here, and so you have no choice but to do that. And I will tell you, all y'all got to do is stand on your own greatness, because these people know when you stand together like we doing right here, that's why you'll always have the suspect agents come in here. We have a few different ethnic groups hanging out in this room today, trying to figure out what we're talking about. Why? Because when we move, the world moves.
That's 100% facts, family. And if anybody's seen Stacey Abrams or whatever, you notice how it was littered in our terminology. It was littered in our terminology. Everything she was saying. As a matter of fact, she hashtagged tangibles multiple different times. She kept hashtagging that, because that's what they need to do. They need to get our attention solely and squarely focused on what we say, and then they can create the pivot to what our brother was just saying right there. This situation of what we're dealing with. Reparations is bigger than a hashtag. Reparations is bigger than us just saying it. Reparations affects every single aspect of American society, really worldly. Okay, because if foundational Black Americans get to the bag, the game is over, because we've been winning without the damn money. We've been winning with them trying to keep the money out of our hands. We've been winning without them allowing us to pass on generational wealth. Imagine if we actually secure it, and then we're able to pass down generational wealth. We're able to build the institutions that look out for us. They want to say, well, y'all going to spend your money this way and that way. Let me tell you something. If 50% of folks took their money and spent it on some bullshit, all it takes is for the other 50. All it really takes is for 5 of us to get together and really start putting our money in the pot, because we've always done things with less. Foundational Black Americans have always exceeded expectations with smaller numbers. I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again to anybody who's listening. Imagine if foundational Black Americans had the numbers that Africans have. Where would we be right now, family? And I put that out there to everybody in the room. If we had the same numbers that Africans have on their continent, where would we be? And then I got a part 2 to that question. Where would foundational Black Americans be if we had access to all the resources that they have in Africa? So imagine if we had the numbers of Africa, and imagine if we had the minerals, the diamonds, the gold, the lithium. Imagine if we had all that. Where would we be? We are where we are right now, which is at the boss's table in the winner's circle without the big numbers. We are out here getting outnumbered by other groups, but we still win. We don't have the access to wealth and capital as Africa has. They standing on the resources. Imagine if we were standing on the resources right now and we could just pull out all the diamonds they got. Where would we be? We would be winning completely. So this is why they want to keep us from the reparations, and this is why they want to keep us from the simplest tangible. Notice, it's not just reparations they want to keep us away from. They don't want to give us $1 because they understand you give us $1, we're going to flip that motherfucker 100 times. They gave us lemons, we made lemonade. We did that 500 years ago. So what's going to happen when we get the check? This is a multifaceted situation, and it affects everybody. Everybody that they fly in to this country, everybody that they try to elevate above us, trust and believe they are spending trillions of dollars just to keep 5 FBA down. But they cannot. And this is why they will always do it. And understand, anything that we get or anything we achieve is going to be what we took. It ain't going to be what they handed to us. And I think we all understand that. You know, that's not above us. That's not beyond us. We understand it's going to be us making it happen opposed to them giving it to us. And we cool because guess what? Everything we've ever done, we did by our own. Everything we've ever done, we got by ourselves. So we're not a lineage that's used to piggybacking off somebody else. We're not a lineage that tethers around other groups. Other groups tether their asses around us. That's the difference between a freedman and a fleer. We build, they steal. We don't have the thought process that we're going to go to somebody else's land and then eat off of what they created. We would never go to another country and say that person's history is our history. We don't think like that. So that shows you how down bad these other individuals are. If you can fly over to somebody else's country, find the oppressed people, and then try to eat off their plate, all these tethers and all these people who pop up at our reparations panels and want to get in on it, how come they don't ever go to the Republican National Convention? They could easily go do that. Why don't they go to the Democratic Convention? They could easily do that. They don't do that is because they want to assimilate with the dominant society and they want to erase foundational Black Americans. That is the difference. And that's why we got to maintain being codified. But everything we're seeing right now, we talk about these agents. We have a lot of discussion about these infiltrators. Let me tell you something, family. That's a good thing. And I'm going to tell you why it's a good thing. It's a good thing because that is a reflection of us being on code. When we're codified like we are now, the dominant society always ups the ante. Remember, when we was out here, yes, we can, and dancing in the street for Barack Obama, talking about racism done got better, talking about white supremacy left yesterday at 3:58 in the afternoon, everything was glory. They didn't do none of this. But now the fact that we're out here getting to the bag, we're codified, we're making demands. We're not asking, we're not begging, we're not pleading. We're telling them, cut the check. There's a difference between cut the check and can you please cut the check. We telling them, cut the check. Run it. No tangibles, no vote, no reparations, no vote. We have taken ownership over everything, our lineage, our heritage, and our culture. And that's why they send in all the infiltrators and all the agents. They put up all the hurdles, the blockades, and the obstacles. But guess what? We're going to do what we've always done as foundational Black American freedmen. They put them up, and we're going to jump right over them one by one. I'm going to send it to you, Brother Zilla, then we can get to a mix.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of the tether movements, it looks like there is a Democratic shield space going on right now, basically jacking the entire title of the space, leaving out, of course, the Democratic names because they would be in bad standing with their handlers. But shout out to Nikki Barnes because we see her over there in that room, in that space, and all of the other time-wasting tethers that have hung out with the Stephen dude and Uncle Luke, and are basically still exhibiting mental midgetry over there while hiding it behind the facade of apparent, what do they call it? Well, I guess they would say they are intellectuals. Well, I guess. But nonetheless, you had to jack the title of this space to basically get people over there. Not the first time or last time that we have ever seen that around here. But let that be a lesson when foundational Black Americans come out with their foundational Black American excellence like you are witnessing me and my brother do right now, and everybody else who has spoken. The Democrats are paying attention. Notice we're in a space right now. Then this other space pops up with the exact same title. No tangibles, no vote. Well, this is of course, no reparations, no Democrats. So they're basically trying to jack the same terminology. And these are people who were not ever messing with New Black Media or the B1 in the first place, but now they're using our terminology after this weekend. Interesting pivot. I'll just say, interesting pivot. But yeah, back to you, brother.
And eventually it's going to be no Democrats, no Twitter spaces, no Tether spaces, no nothing. Because if it ain't foundational Black American, Black grassroots sponsored and certified, then it don't mean a damn thing. So keep on stealing it, and we're going to keep on winning the way we do FBA all day. Minx, it's on you. Minx, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. All right, we're going to keep it pushing until Minx gets it right. If not, we're going to go ahead and drop you down because we are rolling right along and we cannot slow down the room for you. Now, I want to add something to what you just said, Brother Zilla. A lot of people don't know that in the back channels, we be getting a lot of contact. A lot of people be contacting us, basically telling us that they're watching. They're watching everything we do, and they're stealing all of our lingo, all of our words, all of our terminologies. We be spotting them. We've had a lot of people hit us up from some of the spaces that we've done, and then the next thing you sit back and you watch the play. You know what I'm talking about, Zilla? You know what I mean?
I absolutely do, brother. It's a trip, you know. And again, I guess it's something to be used to because, again, when you setting the trend, and you'll know you're setting the trend because you're doing something that no one else is doing. So if they need to follow off of what we're doing, then you understand right off the rip where the trend setting begins. So just, for my part of it, just make sure you keep a hold of the clarity of where you got your original part from versus everyone else who just throws out loose stuff. Please don't confuse their confusion with this precision. Can you dig it?
Oh, absolutely, fam. I like the way you phrase that as well. We're kind of used to that, though, ain't we? FBA, starting trends and then the whole world follows. That's pretty much the DNA of us. We do it and then everybody else gets along. That's why I say there's two types of people on this planet Earth. There are two, not three, not four, not five. There's two. There are foundational Black Americans, and then there's everybody else who wants to be a foundational Black American. That's exactly what it is. And if you don't believe me, watch. Go ahead and look at the world. Watch what they're doing. They over there rapping like us in whole different countries we've never been to. They got trap rappers. They're doing disco. They're doing gospel, all types of off-brand, off-code ass shit they're doing in other countries that foundational Black Americans are doing right here. This FBA right here in this country that don't even know, they're over there mimicking our style in India and Russia and Ukraine. They cocking their hat to the side. They putting on gold grills. Anything that has something to do with us, that's what they want to be because we are the face. We're not just the face of Blackness, we're the face of the planet Earth. Everybody knows that. And this era right now in this generation, as we speak about, this is the era where we're taking ownership of that. We're not blind to that. We understand that when we move, the world moves. We understand that they got to put all these type of heavyweight folks in play just to disrupt us. But like the old saying goes, they can outspend us, but they can't outwork us. And we've always done more with less. So imagine if we start getting more and we can match that and we can even that out and play it to the T. So when you start talking about the political world, and I'm going to bring that back to the political atmosphere, when you start talking about the political atmosphere in terms of reparations, in terms of tangibles, these are things that they are not going to want to give us lightly. So one of the things that we have to do, and I wanted to discuss this with you, Brother Zilla, and anybody else who wants to speak, because I see some people in the comment section. If you want to come on up and speak, it's all good. We're always open to real dialogue, real talk. This is what we always do right here. So much love and respect. It don't matter. We can hold our own. If anybody sees in the world that we're living in today, not only the effects that foundational Black Americans have had, but I want to talk about the means in which we can do these things. There was a big space the other night talking about who should we vote for, how we should vote in terms of breaking the Democratic Party. Some people say that just don't vote. Some people say vote Republican. And either way, I say this, it has to be done strategically. Because as we speak about the way that they're positioning a lot of these tethers out there on the West Coast, you see down in South Florida, we've already examined, broke down, and observed what's going on in terms of how they're positioning these people. A lot of folks don't know. In the 1990s, in the Midwest, so I'm just talking about the Midwest alone, the actual populace used to be white and Black. Now, there are only 2 states in the Midwest that Black folks are the second group. They have been surpassed by everybody else. I believe it's Ohio, and I want to say Indiana. It might be Ohio and Michigan. Okay. But everywhere else in the Midwest, it is white, Latino, and basically Latino means white folks who want to be something else. Either way, those people have passed foundational Black Americans in terms of population. We already know how it works out there on the West Side. This is what we're talking about they're trying to do down South. But I'll say this, there's a lot of things in the South that work in our favor. And that's what I want to get to in terms of actually being strategic. Because I don't mind. If you don't want to vote, good, do it strategically. If you want to vote for another party, good, do it strategically. The only thing you have to do is do it with purpose. Because, just going out there and just placing your vote for somebody who does nothing for you, that blind shit, that doesn't work. So what I want to do is I want to discuss on means in which we can break the Democratic Party, because in the South in particular, there's a lot of ways you can do it. There's a lot of divides and a lot of ways where we can pit the two parties against one another. And I'm always for that, and I'm always down for that. So I say that we should actually break down different means and different terms on how we could take the Democratic Party, strip their anything they got away from them, because they don't have any power right now, it's clear. But we can strip what they think they have away from them. We can do the same with the Republicans, and you see it playing out right now in the political world. Go ahead, brother Kid Gravity.
Black grassroots candidates, that's all I gotta say.
I'm going to add to that, family, and I'm going to add to that. Let's say this, and I think this is the general consensus of the Black grassroots. While people go back and forth and they jander between how to vote, I always say this. It's something we always talk about, me and Queen Alpha. Black grassroots candidates are always the first option, okay? The Democrats and the Republicans should only be used to pit each other against themselves. That is it. We got to look at this as free agency. We are free agents in the political world. Let me break it down. We are free agents. What we've been doing is that we've been giving our vote 90% to one party. That strips away any type of negotiation tool that you have. Imagine you working for a company and one company is going to offer you $100,000 and you just say, okay, I'll keep taking it. That's what we've been doing. Instead, actually, they've been offering us nothing. But say if somebody's going to give you $100,000 and you say, okay, well, I'm going to take this negotiation deal to the other company. And this other company said they're going to give me $130,000. And then they do that, and then you go make another counter offer. You got to pit these people against each other. You can't just go and vote for one person over and over and over again. The only time you should ever deal with the Republican or Democratic Party is make them counter offer. That's called taking the best deal. Once you start taking the best deal, then you get the best deal and you get the most money. We haven't been doing that. You got to view this as a free agent. We are free agents, and right now we're on strike. We're on strike, and we're not going to play until we get exactly what we want. And if we do play the game, we're going to play it on our terms. What we should have always been doing is going from one party, and I don't give a damn if it's a third party. Go to each one of these parties and tell them this is what you better do for foundational Black Americans. And if you do not, I'm going to go to your competition, to your competitor, and I'm going to offer them the same deal. And if they do it, say, hey, I got what I want. See you next election. Instead, Black folks haven't been doing that. They've been putting on their blindfold and going to the Democratic Party and just voting over and over and over again. You got to view this as a high stakes game of chess. You got to view yourself as a free agent, and you have to have the focus that I'm going to take the best offer. In order to take the best offer means that you need to negotiate and work with all sides, even if it's only to cast the illusion that you might vote. But guarantee casting that illusion goes a long way. Folks know that you just going to show up for no reason. When folks know that you just going to give your vote away for nothing, then you end up getting nothing. So we got to be strategic, and we got to play this like chess. We got to play this like blackjack. We got to play this like some intelligent people that we are. In order to do that, we got to get rid of all the vote blues, no matter who's, anybody but Trump's. And then we got to start operating like our own independent functioning political prowess, which we are and which I'm seeing happening right now. Zilla on the West Coast, I've seen that been happening for a while, brother. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Ooh, yeah, brother. And you know what's funny too? I was reading through the comments, and one of the people said, "How much are the Republicans paying you?" Oh goodness. Okay, let me just help y'all out here. For those who keep going to the Republican line and how much are the Republicans paying you, that is killing your party. I don't know why, if you guys think you're keep coming at us like Roland Martin with that line, nobody is scared of a party because we are foundational Black Americans. We have our own interests. So this is the business of empowerment. So whether the business happens on the Republican end or if the business happens on the independent end, because this is not a two-party system. So if one of those many independent parties look to strongly invest in our issues, maybe we could do business with them. And then, of course, there's the Republicans who everybody just automatically writes off. No, 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 no. Remember, this is business of empowerment. A door isn't closed until it's closed. And if they're going to have a conversation, and then you have people who won't even talk to Ice Cube, and now we got black folks talking about, hey, Ice Cube is wrong because he's talking to the Republicans. Listen here. If your mind is still stuck on mush, go to church, because there's a lot of do-nothings that will enjoy having your 10% every Sunday. That's where you belong. This is the business of empowerment. If you can leave the church behind and come over here in this empowerment space, understand you vote your interests. And we are not in the religion because, like I said, go to church because you're praying to Democrats. May the Democrats come and be your Lord and Savior and come cleanse you of all of your sins, because then white people will think you're good. Well, we ain't that class of Negroes here. And I just need you to understand, when you come up before us, you better come correct and wear your nuts. So if you're going to put something in the comments, Don, make sure you want to come up here and say with your chest, no, the Republicans aren't paying us, but we are absolutely about this business of empowerment. So if you would like to come stand on what you said, you are more than welcome to bring your ass up on this stage and get lambasted. Thank you.
You know, family, they're going to have to come with something better than that. Honestly, the Republican line, if you don't vote Democrat, you must be a Republican. If you don't vote Democrat, you're disrespecting your ancestors. If you don't vote Democrat, you must be a Russian bot. If you don't vote Democrat, you must not be woke. That type of shit is old. And we have called that shit out, framed it, exposed it, and ran it off the block. You're going to have to come up with some new ones. That type of game is not working no more. Foundational Black Americans do not go for that one. If you think you're going to shame us, because that's exactly what it is, it's a shame tactic. And let me say this. Does any other lineage get spoke to like that? Have y'all ever seen anybody ever go to a Latino and say, if you don't do this, your ancestors going to be mad? Or if you don't vote this way, then you stupid. Because y'all know Roland Martin, he only cusses at black folks. You never see anybody else get shamed for not voting for a party. They don't do this. You never see them speak about a gender separately, okay? Only when it comes to foundational Black Americans do they separate men and women. Do they separate North and South? They don't ever do this. You've never heard them say Latino women, Latino men, Karen, Ken. They don't ever do that. When it comes to us, it's divisive, it's finger wagging, and it's trying to shame us. They literally try to use the pain and suffering that our ancestors went through just so they can get us to go place a vote. But is it really surprising, family? Because this is the same party that uses Corinne Gaines, Rekia Boyd, Breonna Taylor, Alta Sterling, Freddie Gray, Sam DuBose, Philando Castillo, Trayvon Martin. They take our pain and suffering and put them in big old stickers in campaigns. I literally believe that the Democrats sit back and they look through the newspapers, find a foundational Black American that was harmed by a race soldier, and they say, good. Now I can go put that in my campaign slogan and I can run a commercial. Who benefits off of the pain and suffering politically more than the Democrats? Nobody, because the Democratic Party uses everything that we've ever been through. And I'm talking about from 1526 to right now, 2 minutes ago. They use every single thing that we go through so they can get us to vote for them. And in the process, they give us nothing in return. This is what you call slave master. They still have a slave master mentality, and all the Democratic shills still have a slave mentality. They've been asking what's the matter, boss, is we sick since slavery. And they still asking what's the matter, boss, we sick. The only thing that does matter is they're going to run these reparations and they're going to get out the paint, because this is foundational Black American time, whether they like it or not. My brother Eastside, it's all on you.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. Hey, you know, that made me want to ask them, how much are the Democrats paying them? Because everybody seemed to have that line. You know, everybody want to ask us how much is, you know, is the Republicans paying us? Well, shit, if they the ones that don't want to give us the reparations, so how are they paying us anything? You know, them the ones that got all the bootstrap, you know, strategies and all that stuff. So, you know, and I'm just saying, like, you know, these people they all running off the same line. So where did that come from? It got to come from somewhere. Everybody on a grassroots, well, I ain't gonna say grassroots, you know, the AstroTurf level, you know, ain't saying the same thing for nothing, you know. You know, y'all always taught us, man, when it come down to stuff like this, follow the money. And you hit it on the nose when you was talking about the whole Black Lives Matter thing. You know, I'm a fan of that now. I'll be scheduled for takeoff shortly.
Hey,
That
fam.
Black Lives Matter.
Hey, you about to take what I was about to take, Zilla. I was about to run with that. That's a good one. That's another Democratic Shield organization that was used to go ahead and infiltrate our movement was Black Lives Matter. And we come to find out what, family? That they were all Democratic Shields, literally on the Democratic payroll. Go ahead, Zilla.
Well, you know, I just couldn't help but notice some little former BLMers yesterday. When I say little, I do mean little, along with the jeans. But you know, it's just hilarious. You know, when you see the same movement of Soros-backed individuals, well, suspected Soros-backed individuals, let's just say like that. And now they're coming over here with, you know, new ideas, and now all of a sudden, BLMers have went from being BLM to reparationists. Isn't that something? Funny how that just works, you know. How would this go from one other issue? Now, we was actually really against y'all because we wanted to break up the nuclear family, but now what we want to do, we want reparations so we can help the Black family and help educate the babies. Okay. Wait, the same baby blender crew? Now all of a sudden you want to get over here and get money for the okay, I got it. Maybe I'm confused. Back to you, brother.
The designated driver. The designated driver. Let me say this, family. It's something I talk about all the time on my Black Alpha Cast. The designated driver. We have to be very cautious of these ops, these imposters who play the role of designated driver. What I mean by designated driver when I say that, I mean it's giving somebody your keys. Once you give somebody the keys to your car, now you are going to go where they determine you go. That is what has always happened. So a lot of these folks who all of a sudden start saying that they're for reparations, ain't ever been a reparationist in their life, couldn't spell reparationist. Now all of a sudden these folks are saying that they're reparationists. Why? It's because they want you to give them your keys. Once you give them the keys, then they're going to take it somewhere where it don't need to go. This is why we need to maintain being the drivers of our own car. Okay, we need to co-pilot this. Foundational Black American woman, foundational Black American man. Those are the only two people who can sit right here in this seat, and it's got to be Black grassroots only. As I say, FBA, no trespassers. Because once we start handing these people the keys to our car, we're going to end up in All Lives Matter. We're going to end up in Tetherland. We're going to end up with the Black and Brown Coalition, the leeches of color. We're going to go everywhere except where we need to go. If y'all remember a couple months ago, some W lady from the East Coast, I don't even know her name, some W lady, she was coming out talking about, I support, reparations for, African Americans and all this. She couldn't even get the terminology right. But what was she trying to do? Her, yes, her right there. She was popping up in all these spaces. I mean, she was in these spaces more than anybody. And her main thing was she wanted to help us with reparations. And of course, she was running for office so we could vote for her. But what she really wanted us to do is for us to hand over the keys to our reparations card so she could take us wherever the hell they want to go. That's what Stacey Abrams is doing. If you can't beat them, join them. That is the mentality that the Democrats have. They tried again to stop us from talking about reparations, from tangibles and resources, and we will not go away. We are stronger than ever, unmatched and unbreakable. That's what we are right now, right here today in real time. And since they cannot defeat that, they said, okay, I got a new plan. They went back to what I call the supremacist drawing board. They formulated a new plan and they said, we're going to go in and act like we're reparationists. So therefore they can give us their keys. And next thing you know, they'll blink and everybody else will be getting it. They'll be signing reparation checks for Asians, for Latinos, for Arabs. Hell, they might even sign them for dogs and cats. You never know when you start dealing with these Democrats because that's how low budget and bottom feeders they are. So got to be very careful on anybody who's claiming to be a reparationist, especially when they have no history of even talking about reparations. We got to watch them. And anything that we do politically, it has to be done by the Black grassroots. And we have to be the only ones who are sponsoring this reparations claim, because the last thing we want to do is give it to somebody who just said they was a reparationist yesterday. And then all of a sudden they start giving away our tangibles to everybody else. I'm going to go to you in a second, Kid Gravity, but I see Sister Susan in here. The floor is yours, ma'am. You can unmute yourself, sister.
Are you there, Susan?
Here. Sorry
There
about
you
that. Good
go.
afternoon, my people. I'm out here and I'm fighting for us. I just want you to know, every time I get into a debate about reparations, I get the same rap from the WS Mayos. They go, oh, I'm not going to give you any reparations because I didn't have no slaves and you didn't do anything. So what do you deserve reparations for? I tell them, I say, you are benefiting from the generational wealth that we built. I said, and furthermore, do you have that same energy for Ukraine? And I get crickets every time. They don't even address me anymore. Sometimes I wish they would get in a debate with me. They are running from me now because I'm breaking them down like a shotgun and I'm landing my plane.
Woo! Yes, indeed. You know what? And the reason why you are able to do that so easily, sister, is because you are just simply using truth. And when you take truth into the den of liars, you basically taking a stick of dynamite into a stack of cards and you blowing them off their axis.
They have no smoke for me. They see me, they just go away like butterflies. I be like, damn. I be like, what? What I say? But I be telling them the truth and I break them down like a shotgun. I let them know what time it is and I set their watches. They have no smoke for me. None. So I'm just saying, you just let
Yes,
them know.
indeed.
Bring it to them. Bring it right to their face. We built
Absolutely.
this country. We made life possible for immigrants. So just stop dancing around the truth. And you get nothing in response. And I'm landing my plane. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much, sister. Appreciate that. Kid Gravity, brother, it's on you. Go ahead and unmute yourself, man.
I just put up something in the Jumbotron to what you said earlier, Beatzilla, about Soros. This man has been planning to get into his reparations conversation since 2018. And last year, he started putting his nine figures into the conversation. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these people starting to talk about it, because usually they'll just ignore it. But also a lot of his candidates, they've been specifically asked about reparations. Now, it's incumbent on the media that he's paying to talk about it, but the candidates, they're not supposed to talk about it. That's why when you go on their campaign websites, you don't see anything about reparations. It's always about illegal immigration. That's done by design because they know that the Democrats are going to get easy black votes. And then you can come back and say, well, see, they don't care about reparations because that's not on their agenda. But we were hip to it, and we started, like people like me and Torian and others, started doing these stories and showing their website and say, see, they don't have anything about reparations, so you might want to take a look at that. So when y'all do go vote, make sure you look at their campaign websites. Don't just go by Twitter, because Twitter can be an echo chamber, more or less. Go on their campaign website. If you don't see reparations, you might want to take a second look at the other people.
I absolutely agree. And that, of course, that is voting strategically and being strategic. So when we say, no tangibles, no voting, if there's somebody who is offering you tangibles and you have a tangible solution, especially on a local level, then that's a damn tangible. Of course, vote for that. We wouldn't tell you, like, if we're saying no tangibles, no voting, but because there's no reparations, but you got tangibles on the local level, you bypass that up. No, that is not all wise. We're telling you, vote strategically and use your power wisely. You understand what I'm saying? You want to chime in on that, brother?
Yes, absolutely. You have to use your vote strategically. You got to do it. The same way that they weaponize immigration against us, we have to weaponize our vote against them. The same way that they weaponize our oppression or the Republican Party or whatever they choose to use against us, we have to weaponize the same stuff in return. Everything is about that. That's what happens when you are playing a high stakes game of chess, not checkers. A lot of black folks been out here playing Uno and Connect Four and a bunch of kids games. We ain't playing kids games. This is really, really real. And we have a lot of things at our disposal. We just got to use them. And that's what I love about right now. That's why I love this era. The luxury of today and the luxury of being codified is actually understanding that we got a lot of things on our side that we can use against these parties. Mind you, when you're sitting here and you're being disrespectful to your number one voter block, what happens when that number one voter block goes away? You start to see Stacey Abrams. She getting mopped right now. I know y'all seen that debate the other night. Raphael Warnock was getting served by Herschel Walker. I mean, that's a damn shame. And a lot of that has to do with foundational Black Americans. We ain't rocking with the Democratic Party right now. So these poll numbers, they're going to come up with all these reasons why. I seen them on TV talking about, oh, it's just an outreach program and we need to talk to Black voters better. They're trying to make it seem like it's a matter of a conversation. If they just communicate with us better, then they'll get our votes back. Hell to the no. It's bigger than that. It's way bigger than that. It's really, we ain't fucking with them right now. We're not dealing with them, and we have withdrawn ourselves from there. We are on strike. And as I said, we're thinking it's independent political fields, and we're also operating as free agents who do as we please. Mind you, when you are on the Democratic plantation, everything you do has to come from the plantation. When you're on the Republican plantation, everything you do has to go on the Republican plantation. When you are independent, and you are a free agent, you can move along freely as you choose. And you can't say that you're a freedman, but yet you acting like a slave. So all these people who've been running around here, sitting here voting year after year for the same party for no type of benefits, resources, or tangibles, they've been on that slave stuff. This is the certified American freedman time. This is our era where we moving as we choose, as we please, and everything we do is in the best interest of ourselves. We're not sharing. We're not going to have 10 things of ours and we're going to give 9 of them away. We're not going to sit here and do the work all day long while we sit back and watch other people get money. We're not going to be starving while everybody else is eating good. Nobody's going to walk in our house through the front door, through the living room, kick the dog, kick the cat, go in the refrigerator, take food, eat it, and take it back home to their house. That ain't happening. We've seen that happen too long. We've seen what an open door policy gets us, and it gets us minorities, Black and brown coalitions. It gets people that are so entitled to our culture that they'll get mad at us if we tell them no. And that's what's been happening right now today. A lot of folks are just mad because we've been saying no. When you used to say, yes, we can. Y'all see the irony of that? Think about the irony. They had a lot of Black folks saying, yes, we can. You see what yes has gotten you? Yes has gotten you nothing. Now that we saying no, hell to the no, ain't happening. Now we're seeing real change and everybody's got to go get it on their own because we've been getting it on our own for 400, 500 plus. So let's keep on getting it on our own and everything will be well. Sending it back to you, Susan, and then to our brother Perry. I see you pull back up. Let's keep it rolling.
I just would like to add, I read today, I believe it was today, where Stacey Abrams is of a Nigerian descent. And she's not a foundational Black American. So that would entail why she feels and acts the way she does. She doesn't have our best interests at heart. So, it's like, why? She's just up and running, but she's not running for us. She's running for her people. So I just want to put that out there.
Sister, I seen that as well. And I've been having a lot of suspicion about her background. And I definitely seen that. And that's something I'm not sure has really caught on yet in the Black grassroots movement. I think that's been kind of low key. I think a lot of folks been side-eyeing her, wondering where she came from. And I seen that as well. And I seen that she was of Nigerian descent. And I truly, honestly believe it. Yes, indeed. Roland Martin is not either. He is not a foundational Black American. This is the theme you see where a lot of these folks have skeptical backgrounds. They are non-FBAs. They put on that FBA mask, that FBA costume. Halloween is coming up. But these folks stay in their FBA costume year round. They never take it off. And we got to start exposing these folks, especially when they come in here with these all-inclusive, all lives matter policies that they try to thrust upon us. But in reality, they not even FBA in the first place. So are we really surprised that the Democratic Party the party of immigration over everyone else? Are we really surprised that they got a bunch of non-FBAs cosplaying us and then at the same time writing laws? That makes everything they say illegitimate. They're not legit. You can't sit there and talk about what you're going to do for foundational Black Americans, and then we come to find out that you're not even a foundational Black American. So yes, I seen that with Stacey Abrams, as well as others who are littered in the Democratic Party, and they all have one thing in common. They act FBA, but they write laws for everybody else. Have you seen that, Zilla? Because I've been seeing it, brother.
I absolutely have been seeing it. And, you know, it's so funny because, again, I was getting on that Caribbean CARICOM thing. And just here recently, last week, Ayanna Presley actually came out for the Caribbean. And I don't know if people have been watching, you know, which you guys should be subscribed to my YouTube channel. But I was talking about this for a while, this Caribbean CARICOM that's sitting in our Congressional Black Caucus. And they are completely focused on siphoning money, infrastructure, and even education to the Caribbean. And these people are supposed to be the constituents, or well, not, we are the constituents that they're supposed to be representing. And none of them are even concerned about foundational Black Americans at all. So no, I'm definitely seeing it. And that's why they don't have any connection with us, because they're so busy trying to fix up their homelands off our backs.
Well, personally, I think they need to go back and fix up their lands and just leave us the eight alone. So, I mean, it is what it is. We are all we got. And that's how we going to do this. So I'm just done with it. I'm done with all the nonsense. I'm done with all the bull. I'm done with all the double speak. I'm done with everything. Just run me my money. I don't want to hear nothing else. I really don't. There's nothing else they can say to me. There's no other kind of flyer they can send me. Matter of fact, I got a note today about all the things that Joe Biden has done. Check, 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 check. And it was from like a, you know, really person I've been politically speaking with. Well, not an ally, but somebody I've been just conversing with. And then when I got down to the bottom, I said, there's no reparations on this. Guess what the answer I got? Crickets. When I talk reparations, they run from me. And I'm glad they do, because they know I'm not nobody to be played with. So it is what it is. I'm
yes,
down.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, sister. Brother Perry did Kid Gravity.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I got one thing. You know what? One thing I can't stand about the Democrats, they love to put us in these categories knowing that they ain't gonna do shit for us anyway, like people of color. I don't like that shit because we are not included. I don't like the word minority because, hell, white women are a minority. You get what I'm saying? What else? Black or brown coalition. That shit is a myth. And let's keep it under a buck. The majority of Latinos don't even like black folks. Okay? The majority of them don't. And that's fine, because I don't really care too much for them either. And another thing I can't stand when they come out with these trashy videos like no vote, no fucking, or whatever that shit was. Do they do that to these Latinos? No. Do they do that shit with the Asians? No. Do they do that to any other group of people? No. They only do this shit with Black Americans. They think that we're fucking stupid, and that shit pisses me the fuck off. Real talk.
I totally agree, brother. Kid Gravity, it's on you, bro.
Yeah. So with Stacey and Brian, it's going to be an interesting debate in about an hour and a half. I got to watch all that, but I saw a video yesterday, and I said this in Dwan B's space. Somebody went up to a black household, and it was a Latino guy, and he was explaining why we should vote for Stacey Abrams. So the brother laid out, why he's not voting for her. Do you know what the counter to that was? Now, mind you, he's talking to a black man. This man said, well, she's proposing sports gambling and casinos.
Wow.
So that's the tangible, because remember, everybody saw that Twitter thread she threw up yesterday. I mean, her white handler threw up yesterday about reparations, but she talked about tangibles. So she said sports gambling and casinos. Now, for those in Atlanta, that means, and outside of Atlanta, that means that's going to be on the west side by Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where they're building up all those nice little townhomes that are going to be way overpriced. Like this state, like this city needs that right now. We don't need sports gambling and casinos right now. We need to get people off the street, and we need to get our schools right. Or we just do the homeschool thing. I don't know. That's your choice. But we have other pressing issues to worry about. She wants to give black folks sports gambling and casinos, but guess what? She went to all them other groups and never mentioned that once. So when y'all watch the debate tonight, make sure you have that in the back of your mind. That's how she's talking to us. No reparations, but you get to throw away your life savings in something that black people won't even control. So take that with you.
Wow. That's amazing, man. I don't even know what to say about that. Other than, just she tried to come out and if you remember our last space, that brother that actually ran up on this Stacey Abrams, he was actually in the space explaining what happened. So then she tried to come out saying, oh, no, I said yes to reparations. Oh, no, that brother heard you correctly, and so did all the rest of us. We heard exactly what you said, Stacey Abrams, and you said no. So, I mean, come on now. But, this is I guess she's being a diligent politician because she's just flat out lying. You know what I mean, brother?
Yeah, hey, that was our brother autodidactic. Yes, he did. And mind you, wasn't that the same exact thing that Raphael Warnock did to our brother Greg Marcel Dixon? It was the same exact thing. They had no time for him. And it's funny because in that little speech that she gave yesterday, or that little paragraph she wrote, she says, other politicians don't have the time for us. But yet we literally have actual video of them not having 1 second to talk to a foundational Black American. They literally just scared their ass right out of the way. Raphael Warnock sat down and talked to a Karen for like 5-10 minutes about nothing. Soon as Greg Marcel Dixon went to talk, he was like, I ain't got no time for interviews. First off, Marcel wasn't doing no interview. He didn't have no camera. He wasn't trying to capture no film. He was trying to talk to you and have a discussion. The same discussion that you gave Karen, you wouldn't give to our brother. So once again, they had no time to answer the question. And then Stacey Abrams, while she's sitting there walking, and our brother autodidactic approached her and asked her a simple question again, she acted like she didn't hear him. She played stupid and she trolley right along. But then she turns around and says, oh, but I've been here for you guys. This is what we're talking about in terms of the controlled opposition. That's exactly what they're trying to do now. So when she comes out and says that she's for reparations, and she says, why I said yes, but y'all heard no. No, we heard exactly what you said. All right, this is the thing. We're not dumb. And this is what they always do when it comes to foundational Black Americans. Whenever we question them, they try to make it look like, oh, we just didn't understand what they were saying. We didn't really get it. It's just, if we listen a little more, then we'll catch it. No. We heard what you said. We know what bullshit you on, and we calling it out. The time where they could sit there and say there's some type of lack of communication, or we just don't really get what they're saying, or if we give them 10 more minutes, we'll truly understand it. Man, them days is done. The agenda is laid out. We all know what the issues are. Everybody is focused on the issues. If a Republican, a Democrat, or any politician is acting like they don't understand the plight of American freedmen, they're lying. And now we're calling them out on it, and we're making them have to own up to it. and she's going to own up to it when she does not win this election. And I want to say something our brother Perry said, which is a good point. We haven't even spoke on that. All of these disrespectful hip hop, to get your ass to the polls, whatever the hell they was talking about, no fucking or whatever the shit was. These type of things you never see them ever do to any other group. So if you genuinely want to see what type of time they're on, look at how the Democrat talks to black people. Look how the Democrat communicates with black people, and look at the pieces that they put out to get our attention, and then look at how they do it with everybody else. Everybody else is with decency. It's with class. It's direct. It's intellectual. It's based on something substantial. When it comes to us, it's ignorant, filthy bullshit, because that's exactly how they think we are. So we have to really understand they are on that time. And for them, time is up, and it's certified American Freedmen time. To you, Lion of July, I think it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Black Alpha. My question is actually to you. After the debate with Warnock and Herschel, what are the people saying on the ground, the brothers and sisters in Georgia? Thank you.
Oh, okay. Going to be our senator.
No, hey.
Don't be our senator, boy. Senator, what you call him? Senator CTE?
Yeah, Senator CTE. Yes, indeed. Yep.
There it is. I'd rather deal with that brother for 6 years than deal with Warnock for 7 and him trying to run us out of this state.
Big facts. I'm going to tell you what I heard down here. I heard a couple things, and I'm going to give you all the answers. First off, a lot of Democrats were severely disappointed with Raphael Warnock. That was the Democrats. I think the general consensus was by each side of the aisle is that Warnock got served and he lost clearly. Everybody was saying that. A lot of people were completely disappointed with his performance in terms of the Democrats and the liberals. They're starting to second guess this election. They're starting to second guess all the money and the resources that they put behind his campaign. Because remind you, this guy has been well funded for quite some time. He's the incumbent. He has every single advantage. There's no reason why he should be losing to Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, by the way, is not witty. He can barely talk. If you ask Herschel Walker to spell the letter J, he'd write down H. Okay, if you asked him to spell the letter Q, he'd write down G. This guy is lost. He's lost in the sauce. He's not an intelligent person at all. And when he outwits you, when he outclevers you, you have a serious problem. And then when your own party is believing that you lost and they can't spin it because they would prefer to spin it and say how Warnock did a great job, and they were really honest with themselves and saying no. So what I heard was a lot of people locally, I heard some people in politics, and everybody was pretty much saying that Warnock lost, and they're starting to really genuinely doubt his campaign, and they're really starting to doubt him as a politician. In terms of Herschel Walker, everybody basically thinks what we think about Herschel Walker. He didn't win because he's such a great candidate. He won because the guy he's going up against is such a loser. And everybody knows this right now. So in terms of the ramifications of that, I think Herschel Walker is on a very, very incline. And I think he gained a lot from that debate. I think Raphael Warnock is on thin ice, as well as Kamala Harris has been on thin ice, because I've been hearing rumblings out there on the West Coast that Kamala Harris is somebody that they're actually bringing up. Maybe Joe Biden shouldn't bring around for his reelection. You know, of course, Joe Biden is going to be 799 years old, but a lot of people are saying that they should not bring Kamala Harris back. So I say all that to say this is that in terms of Raphael Warnock, Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, the Democrats have put forth a lot of money into these people, and none of them have given any returns back. So that's a cause for pause and a major concern within the fields of the Democratic Party as well. And I would say this as well, taking it a step further, and I'll add my extra piece to it. This shows a lot of us what we suspected is that whole blue wave of 2020 was kind of a fraud. And a lot of people did not genuinely believe that Stacey Abrams flipped that state from red to blue. A lot of people believe that there was a lot of finessing that went on. And if you guys remember, Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, everybody was trying to campaign Stacey Abrams as well as Raphael Warnock as people that were changing the state of Georgia from red to blue. Georgia is a notorious red state. But everybody was saying now it was going to be a blue state because Joe Biden, quote unquote, allegedly won. So now we're starting to see if Georgia was such a blue wave just 2 years ago, how come everybody is getting beat in Georgia, in a lot of cases in a landslide? It's making everybody understand that there was a finesse at play, and it's making everybody second guess a lot of the things that went on in the 2020 election in terms of the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party. And perhaps the state never really turned blue. It was really red all along. And I hope that answers your question, bro.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Appreciate you, family. Go ahead, Susan, and then to our brother Rose City.
I just would like to add As far as Kamala Harris is concerned, her career was over the day she said that she wasn't going to do anything just for Black people. She was written off then. She might as well go put on a white sheet and start floating like Casper the Ghost, because she is done politically. She has no future. She has nothing. So she might as well go back to wherever she came from, drink some tequila or whatever, and just leave us alone. And I'm landing my plane.
Yes, indeed. I agree wholeheartedly, ma'am. Rose City, go ahead, brother. I know you want to go ahead and speak.
Hey, I hope I ain't too loud. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here we go. I don't know if y'all understand something that I've been peeping out since that Trump and Biden election, but the Democrats have been like really disrespectful towards our people, and people not understanding that. I don't think they seeing this shit. They throw these strip to the vote, get to the vote, get your booty to the poll. Then they got this new shit, no vax, no sex, or no vote, no sex shit. Then the killer was that with me that made me say fuck the Democrats and they whole little whatever field they have is when Kamala Harris lost, and then they turned right back around and put her ass as the VP. And all these same Black people that didn't vote for her stupid ass when she was running for president, they went back and turned around and want to put pearls and chucks on their damn T-shirts and talk about chucks and pearls. Oh, she a sister girl. But what they ain't peeping is these people don't give a damn about them. They being disrespectful towards them. They telling y'all in your face that y'all ain't shit. And then you turn around and come back talk about is the Republicans paying y'all because y'all saying this about the Democrats? No, we're smart like our ancestors. We're not voting because you dumbasses telling us to vote. We're voting because if you ain't giving us nothing, we don't have no damn time to be voting for your dumbasses anyway. So, and what the people don't really understand is they keep talking about this, you're a Republican if you don't vote for a Democrat. Well, hell, y'all do understand that most Black people were Republicans before they were Democrats in the first goddamn place. So I don't understand all of this lost in the sauce ass stuff. People got to open their eyes up and realize the Democratic Party ain't never really been for us. They started out as something to help us, and then it went from sugar to shit real quick. You know what I'm saying? So I'm on because I'm on break. I'm finna give me a little snack. Y'all hold it down. Appreciate it.
Since 1965. They done did the damn percolator, the two-step, the nay-nay, the stank leg. They done did all of that and ain't wrote one law for foundational Black Americans. That is pandering to the maximum. And this is the party that these Democratic shills want us to vote for? This is the party that you go sit in the rain, sleet, hail, snow, and go vote for? This is the party that you dance in the street every time they win an election? Hell no. I'm glad I'm a part of this era right now, because this era ain't going for that. Y'all, you're going to have to run something. You're going to have to run a check, run a tangible, run some money, point blank, bottom line, because getting things for free from us is over. You're going to have to pay up or you're going to have to put out, bottom line. Go ahead, Zilla.
You know, just looking at that, look at how natural that is for people to just expect. And if you have understood how people have tried to talk to us over the course of the last few months as if, well, we should understand everybody else's plight because they've went through something similar. Being in even a similar circumstances, that, of course, that is not the case with us at all. We are not similar to anyone. But if that was the case, it still does not make our specific claim anyone else's. I find that to be one of the grossest disrespectful moves ever. And then people talk to us. We have these politicians that are still in the plantation mindset. That's really what we're dealing with. We are still dealing with plantation thinking in 2022. I mean, because think of what Stacey Abrams said. She can't talk about Black issues because it would offend some people. That's a system in 2022 that is absolutely worthless to us. We don't need to be looking to uphold that. All we have done is uphold this system of oppression, oppressing our future generations while ensuring their future generations could come back into the mix. Thank the Most High that the nature had to kick in to as a defense mechanism to keep us from these old Negroes keep them sending us back down on selling us on the plantation. So they had to start losing, and their numbers are thinning. It literally took nature, because these old Negroes will not give this plantation up for nothing, family. Now, of course, that ain't all, but I'm talking about the ones that are stuck on, well, we got to vote blue no matter who. We had a younger old Negro that was in the comment section earlier. Well, how much do the Republicans paying you? See, that mentality, that plantation chicken George ass mentality still exists to this day. Shout out Dr. Joy DeGruy, because post-traumatic slave disorder, or shall I say post-traumatic slave response, is very real. And these house Negroes, or these field Negroes that always wanted to be in the house, that love master more than life itself, those spirits are still here, and they got government jobs. Can you dig it?
Completely. You know, that's something that gets me as well, family, is that when you start talking about, you know, tangibles and starting to, you know, talk about anything that actually comes back to us, anything that's pure, they, like you said, family, they completely cool with it. Completely cool. And I'm going to bring up something else, because y'all know when we start breaking things down, we break it down. We're going to give real reality checks, truth checks. Does anybody remember when Barack Obama was president that they literally used to tell black folks that the president can't do anything for us? That used to be the play. Trust me, before the black Grassroots, you remember that, family? Family, tell me you do.
I absolutely do, man. That was a consistent, and they were doing it on like radio programs. So it was a national message.
National. People do not remember. See, we've been in this black grassroots running things era because we running things. We've been in this era for quite some time now, where the narratives have changed. Now the narratives are, you can do things for everybody else, and you better do some things for us. But if we rewind back a little bit, we put the car in reverse and go back some. Let's just go back to when Obama was president. They literally, and I'm talking about all the Democratic shills, the same Democratic shills today that are saying, how much are the Republicans paying y'all Russian bots, or whatever bullshit they come up with today. And they'll come up with some more bullshit tomorrow. We're going to run both of their bullshits off the block. Either way, the same folks that are out here today trying to shame us to vote for Joe Biden, trying to shame us to vote for Stacey Abrams and Raphael Warnock or whoever else, they were the same ones running around during Barack Obama's presidency for 8 years and were openly telling us the president cannot do anything for you specifically. And they did not come up off that. They said it and they meant it. And black folks was literally saying that. So anytime a black person used to ever challenge Barack Obama and be like, man, he ain't did nothing for us, there'd be somebody saying, well, the president can't do nothing for us specifically. He can't do it. I'm telling you, that's just what it is. He'd be wrong. Remember, Barack Obama's a president for all people. He can't do anything for black folks. It's the same thing that Kamala Harris was saying when she was saying she's not going to do anything specific for us. But black folks was really pushing that, as Zilla said, on radio, on national radio, on television, anything that was in public syndication. That's what they're doing. Old folks, church folk, that's exactly what they were trying to tell us, and they sold us that. And then there was another hustle they used to do. This is another one that has been forgotten in the realm of history, but we're going to bring it back. We're going to dust it off, and we're going to put it to the family. Another thing they tried was they said, wait until Barack Obama goes past his first term. After he's done with his first term, that second term, he gonna be real good. He gonna say everything.
Man,
I'm taking it back, brother.
Oh yeah, brother.
And he did the work, and he did the most damage in the second term.
Absolutely. For us, and then for everybody else, he did his greatest work in his second term. That's what it was. It was that same wait until tomorrow, it to get y'all's the better y'all's. That's what they was doing. They kept running that over and over and over, saying he cannot do nothing for y'all. Wait until the second term. He gonna do something this time. And then we sat back and watched the first term. We watched the second term, and we watched every other group come up in the process while foundational Black Americans were left with nothing. This is the play. This is the blueprint, the program, and the manuscript that the whole Democratic Party, I'm not talking about half or sort of, I'm talking about all of them. This is what they consistently run upon us. And this is what we, as the Black Grassroots era certified American Freedmen today, are getting rid of. So I salute everybody who is countering that bullshit and letting the world know, yes, the president can do something specifically for us. And not only can he today, he better run them tangibles. Back to you, Zilla.
Big facts. I mean, I would not ever forget as much as they was telling us, well, he's the president of all people. And he literally ended up saying it too. So, I mean, they had him double down on the line. Well, I'm not just the president of black people. I'm the president of all America. So I got to make sure that I take care of all the Americans. And no, but he wanted to make sure he took care of that and then some. And then not to mention all those background, the backdoor deals that Hillary Clinton was making while she was using her little seat to make all kind of deals. So this thing in Ukraine that we dealing with, like Hillary Clinton was over there doing dirt. They went out there, got Muammar Gaddafi out the paint. So, you know, yeah, he could go out there and go. When I seen him sit down with Muammar Gaddafi, I was like 72 hours. 72 hours, he up out here. You like you over here sitting with Satan. So like you sitting with this nigga right here, yeah, you got about 72 hours you up out the paint. Man, they blew that dude up out of his palace in the street like a commoner. Had him on the back of that truck looking hella distressed. Gaddafi was like, how did this happen to me so quick? The camera just pan around. Bow! Like they just murked the whole leader on the back of a truck on live camera. It's like, this is Barack Obama. But yeah, so he can't do nothing for black folks. He came in here telling us that he believed marriage was between a man and a woman. He was their candidate. So peep game. They funded him from day one, funding his message, knowing he was going to pivot and make sure the legislation went through.
Hey, brother, you remember? Family, remember he stood away? I gotta throw this in, family. Remember when Reverend Wright came out and he stepped away from Reverend Wright? Do you remember when he hid the picture of him and Minister Louis Farrakhan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That brother stepped away from everything black, the Christian preacher and the brother who stands for the people. And then, so what do you think he gonna do? Oh, well, he gonna come in and say, well, Trayvon Martin, if I had a son, he would have looked like Trayvon. Yeah, but there's still no justice here on George Zimmerman, which everybody calls him a Hispanic. I call him something else because his daddy.
Remember he said that all the Baltimore people were thugs?
Yep.
Freddie Gray.
Yep. Hey, mind you, when he said that about Trayvon Martin, that was an election season. That was when he was coming up on his second term. He said that right when he was going for votes. That's the only reason why he said it.
That is so true. So from then to now, look at how we have lost all of these individuals, and there's no law on the books for protection of foundational black Americans. How on earth can you convince us to vote for Democrats? Because we need access to baby deletion? The hell out of here, man. Back to you, my brother.
I got to send it to our brother Dwan B because I'm already ready for my brother to tap in. Go ahead, family.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I asked because I just got thrown in Facebook and Twitter jail about a few hours ago for a week. I'm surprised I could talk. I got put in jail in Twitter jail because although I don't give one half of a shit about Kanye, I called out niggas for saying, okay, I called out specifically the blue check Negroes that are going hard against Kanye, but sat quiet when Joe say hip hop is Latino. I'm like, man, I'm all for canceling people, but if we gonna cancel people, let's cancel all these motherfuckers that speak out against us, not just the niggas. Let's especially cancel the ones who own our culture. So for some reason, Twitter put me in Twitter jail for the next 7 days, and so I'm glad to see I can join you guys here in the chat, in the Twitter spaces, but you will not see me tweeting it until next Monday. But anyway, well, I want to stick to the topic where we're talking about rejecting Stacey Abrams and these damn Democrats. Man, I'm so high. This whole room is music to my ears. And the movement that we've been on as a people for the last 4 years, really for the last 8, but it really got strong in 2016, 2018. Because, you know, we were sounding like some outliers when we were talking about we ain't scared of Trump. You know what I mean? When they were like, we gotta let you Hillary because we can't get Trump in office. And we were all saying, like, you know what? Well, if Hillary ain't gonna be no better than Obama, I ain't really tripping on Trump. And they were calling us everything shorter than a child of God, thinking like that back in 2016. But the people who were thinking like that back then came around. You know what I mean? They're starting to come around, and now we're seeing Stacey Abrams talking about, she has a plan for black men. Let me tell you something, people who support Stacey Abrams. As a man who is as big as Stacey Abrams is trying to be, she don't fuck with us. She never has fucked with us, and she's just using this little thing. She's saying, okay, I'm going to give black people reparations, and start talking about some HBCUs. Like, how slow do they think we are? It's like, do we we can go up to the definition of tangibles in the damn library. We go to Webster's right now and look up what tangibles mean. Tangibles don't mean some damn fictitious education. It means something I can grab hold and pass down to my children. So we see them playing these games, and they're not trying to come up off of it. And the tone of the people, with us having this reparations rally a week before the election, or 3 days before the election, and all this stuff, even with that little fake reparations rally that they threw out. Yes, a couple of them was fake, a couple of them was real, but the fact that they even had to put that out there still puts into the mass consciousness of the people, what we as black people are looking for and what we demand as a people. And I think that we're on the right path. We keep doing it. I'm always going to shout out to Kid Gravity, Black Alpha, Beatzilla, Queen Alpha, and these spaces that you put on, Afro Elite down there. These are the discussions that we have that keep us on point, because, we're not like our parents' generation. Other generations, they'll get mad for a second and then go right back to picking the cotton after about 8 days of willy-nilly diddling around. They go right back doing what they did. We are still moving forward, and I think that we're on the right path, and I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, my brother. And we need this is a multifaceted ordeal. So we need all hands on deck at every angle, every station, man. This is the ship of empowerment. And hey, man, we need gunners on all four corners, brother. So shout out to you, Dwan B, man, and also keeping it solid in that comedy space too, because I noticed you over there impressing brother Corey over there. So like, hey man, I'm gonna have to kick it to my brother Dwan B. So shout out to you, brother.
Man, we be in the signifying circle at the Improv. We be there tonight. We be out in front of the Improv sometime till 1, 2 in the morning, just clowning each other. And that's
that was dope. That was dope. Just watching the videos of that, man. That's how we get down. Please.
I'm gonna do more videos because we've been getting down like that for years. We just, I was never really want to pull the video out because, like, I'm born and raised here in LA, so a lot of the putting the picture up and showing you who I'm with. But people who are born and raised here, it's a little different. We see that shit as corny as hell when we see people doing that. But I also know that now that I'm more out there, more public, I know that you guys like that. And so I'm like, you know what? Let me start recording some more of the stuff because people love Corey Holcomb and people love what we do. So I'm like, and plus I was talking to Guy Torrey last week about his documentary that he did on Amazon Prime about the Comedy Store and Fat Tuesdays. And he was talking to me about how important it was to have those pictures of the time and the videos that he had that went into his documentary. Me being someone who's putting together a documentary now, and I'm going to do more. I'm like, you know what? Let me listening to people like you, Beatzilla, that like that, and then thinking long term. That's when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start recording the stuff up more because when I think about the shit that it was one night we was out there in front of the Improv. We was all clowning. 50 came out. 50 and Mike Epps walked out at the same time. We started clowning the shit out of them, and they started shooting dice. And then when they were shooting dice, Dave Chappelle came out. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? But this is like a regular Monday for us. But I'm gonna start posting more of this shit to send to y'all, man, because those are our legends, and I shouldn't take that shit for granted.
Man, brother, did y'all just hear how casual he just dropped them names? They just out there just chilling, bro. Yeah, you got to put that out there, brother.
and you saw Tashina came down to the hood to sing with me. I was on the drums this past Saturday. And Tashina Arnold came down. I'm talking about we was in the hood. Think of your worst hood in your city, and that's where she came down to come and kick it with us, man. That's kind of typical here, though, But I gotta put it out more. I appreciate you for reminding me of that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the shit. Because that's the stuff that people don't generally get a chance to see. Like I just put up a video on my page from last Friday with our band. We just had a reunion, kind of reunion jam, and people like, dang, y'all just really enjoy. Like we like each other. We're a band that literally likes each other. We mess with each other, so it shows when you're in the spaces with very talented individuals. Everybody is like a beast. Oh man, that stuff needs to be caught on camera way more than not. And because I just look back at my own history, and I'm sure you do so too, Dwan B. Just all the different all those little different things where you be like, oh, random people just are there. It's like, yo, we got some experience, brother.
I appreciate that, man. I was when the Lakers when we won that championship against the Celtics in 2010. That was my 29th birthday, and I was in the locker room, and I didn't take any pictures. I took some pictures from my seat, but I didn't take. And that's one of my biggest regrets, man. We gotta, because I think overall, and even if it's nothing that big, even if it's just day to day, we family reunions, and I'm gonna take a lot of pictures. I'm gonna be out there in DC in a couple weeks. I'm taking all these pictures, man, because that shit gonna mean something in 20 years. Like, you know what I mean? For real. Just our day-to-day activities. I mean, man, we do gotta do a better job of chronicling that and keeping that in the annals, so we're not waiting on other people to tell our history. We can document it, and then we can show pictures for it, and then somebody else is documenting that history. We can always have a catalog of stuff to send them. So yeah, that's the next step, brother, man. I appreciate you.
And I'm saying this for myself too, because I'm bad at that myself, brother. So, I totally feel you. Like, you do kind of feel corny, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, no, these are the people that people talk about. So it is what it is, bro. Sister Susan, you can unmute yourself. Go ahead, sister, you got it.
I just have a question for the entire group. What is Auntie Maxine Waters doing these days? Ever since she wagged her finger in our faces and got shut down.
Nothing.
Can I answer that?
Nothing. She's in my. You can answer. I was going to say I live in Maxine Waters District. Nothing. But go ahead.
Is she running homeless people off the block?
I just haven't heard anything about her ever since that incident, and I'm just curious to know if anybody has any feedback.
She wasn't even.
Isn't she retiring?
I don't know. I hope so. I don't know. She wasn't even at Taste of Soul this past Saturday. We're usually where the nigga events are, where all the music is. That's the only time you're gonna see Maxine Waters' Muppet face looking ass. It's the only time I ever see her. Taste of Soul, the Watch Jazz Festival, the Leimert Park Jazz Festival. That's the only time you ever see her. I remember when I was younger, back in the 90s, when I was we used to see her everywhere. Like, Maxine used to actually be on the streets. If some shit needed to happen, she was gonna be there. Maxine Waters was gonna pull up. But the last 25 years, since I've been an adult, and even now, you don't see it. She's not even coming to the music festivals anymore. She just sits back, and I got a few people. One of her offices is literally about a half, when she's running her elections. One of her election headquarters is literally a half mile from where I live. The election 2 years ago, I went down to that office at least 15 times. Never saw her. Never. Not even if something big happened. Never saw her. So I'm glad you asked that question, because with the whole Latinos in the city council, she ain't said nothing. And I'm glad you said, because Taste of Soul is usually over 1 million black people walking up and down Crenshaw. We did not see Maxine Waters. I don't know where she is.
That's mad interesting, brother. Because I'm just thinking, like, with Maxine Waters, one of the her and like Margaret Carter from here, which Margaret Carter actually decided to retire. But watching how all of these old women, these sisters and these old black dudes, these folks will die in these positions. And I just wonder, is she in okay health? Because she up there too. And so when you start seeing them appearances dropping off, it's like, okay, first off, you start phoning it in. And then next thing you know, it's just like, this is going to be one of them, like, she just up and gone, and then they going to try to figure out how to replace her. See?
I hear you, B. I think that's a major concern. because I hear where you're coming from. I was saying the last time I saw Maxine Waters in public, honestly, she was at the Jazz at Drew. I think that was 2018. Sheila E. and Earth, and Fire performed. I saw her there, and that was the last time I've seen Maxine Waters. That was 2018 or 2017. She has it out. But Maxine Waters is somebody I know about personally from my mom when I was 6 years old. Used to take me to the city council meetings when Maxine Waters was a local senator, when she was a state representative before she went. And she used to always be somebody. If you were anywhere, anything was going on, you were gonna see Maxine Waters. I saw Maxine Waters more than I saw my math teacher in the 3rd grade. I mean, that's how much she used to be out. Now, and it should salute to Dr. Randy Short. He's someone that, slid her that information on the whole thing that happened with the crack epidemic here in LA that got her to the political prominence. That's why if you listen to Dr. Randy Short talk about her, he talks about her so bad because he remembers where he helped her get to where she got. Now she got this. She only fucks with Mexicans. And now that this whole thing has been going out with Mexicans, I mean, she would at least used to put something out. She ain't put nothing out, y'all. I don't mean to take up the time. I'm just frustrated because, again, Maxine Waters, I've lived in her district for the last 10 years. And going back to when I was younger, I was in her district when she was a state representative in my early childhood. So she's a woman who's always had direct effect on my life and my day-to-day living because she's always patrolled the areas that I live, Black LA. And I wish I could give you an answer, sister. Honestly, I wish I could.
That's deep. That is deep. But brother, to be honest, man, this is midterm madness. And that's another person who might be up, I guess it won't be midterm for her next time, but, we have to discuss these people because these people have literally been in our mix. And Maxine Waters is one of the big faces that everyone looks at that Black caucus. So remember, she's one of the major influences in the Congressional Black Caucus. And this is her district. So that means that we ain't getting no love at all, family. I mean, no love whatsoever, man. You want to chime in on that, brother?
I actually got a question I want to ask everybody. Do we all feel that the Congressional Black Caucus should be disbanded? Should it be defunct? Should we get rid of it? Should it be canceled? We all know basically what they don't do for us. But I want to ask everybody right here. I'll start with you, kid, because I know you've been going hard on them for a long time. Do we feel that the Congressional Black Caucus should be disbanded? And anybody who wants to come up and speak and add their piece to it, I would welcome that greatly. But should we get rid of them? Should we denounce them? I think we've already denounced them. But should they be disbanded where there is no more of them? Go ahead, Gravity.
Y'all got to understand, most of their seats are up right now, and a lot of them are starting to retire. So the best thing for y'all to do is we grow our candidates and we put them in that seat, and we just make the Congressional Black Caucus no party affiliation. We align, they should be aligned with an agenda.
Facts. East Siders, go ahead, brother. You can unmute yourself.
Hey, real talk. Not only should we disband them, we should go ahead and put y'all in the Congressional Black Caucus for real. All the new voices of, new black media, voices. We should really just put y'all there. I mean, I can't really think of anybody better for real. I mean, y'all said exactly everything we needed. I mean, y'all not dancing around it. Matter of fact, y'all getting rid of the ones who are. You know what I'm saying? We just, that's how we should do that. But, it's up to y'all and it's up to the people. I'll land there.
What are your thoughts, Zilla?
I have to say, we're so different. We're the go get it generation, but at the same time, we don't even see ourselves in a certain light. And maybe we should. So I guess to say even with myself, don't downplay that option. You know what I'm saying? Especially on a local level, because there are now that we have to kind of look at the breakdown of how these city councils and all of these the city councils, these school boards, and how all of these different things are playing out, the development commissions in these cities, yo, it's us. And truth be told, for all the people of the grassroots, this is kind of the time to start looking into politics seriously. So, yeah, just keep an open mind. I would just say for anybody, that's my take on it. Even speaking for myself, to myself.
I would say another strategy is, because I know here in LA, I would probably have some friends that are elected if we still have black people here, but I know people that have run for office locally and they're politically active. I make sure to talk to them and they're very clear on what the agenda is. And these are people that, although I don't have the time to run, I know enough people around town that are running or know. I'm either in direct contact with somebody who's running or one person removed. Because when you're around these circles, when you go to the city council meetings, when you go to different stuff like that, you start to get in that environment. And also, hell, like, I don't know if you, for here, I have people, I have like 3 people I went to high school with that are extremely politically active in local LA politics. And I make sure, and we have these conversations all the time. They come to me all the time saying, when I talk to them about politics, they're like, this is what they tell me. They need people like me and us out here to amplify the voices because they see what's going on. But basically, the people who are involved, all of the media is Roland Martin style, Angela Rye style. They're going to say that bullshit. And the younger people that are in politics, they see the bullshit. And when they hear the Roland Martin style people talking, it's like, okay, on one hand, I want to push for what I do, but the people who vote for me are listening to these cats over here like Roland Martin saying just vote blue no matter what I do. And I have all this money that's here tempting me to do whatever the hell I want to do. I have one friend that ran for city commissioner out here. She ended up losing that. She went place 3rd. But she just told me about the value of having people like us out here. Because with us out here amplifying messages, she then has some reasonable standing when she does want to allocate resources to us, when she does want to make these moves, because again, these political systems are set up to not give us shit and to put major pressure on those who want to give us something and discourage them from doing it. So don't discount the voices. Oftentimes, like it's like anything else. Everybody has a role in the game, and the voice is a role, but the voice also isn't the person that pulls it off. Oftentimes, me and Dr. Short talk about it. The best politicians the Republicans have had over the last 40 years is Karl Rove. Karl Rove ain't run one seat, but he knew how to find somebody. What's the other white boy that got Trump in office? With the he got
Bannon.
Nixon. Bannon's one of them. Roger Stone. I'm actually going to interview Roger Stone. Me and Roger Stone I'm interviewing that Republican white boy because for him to get Nixon and motherfucking Trump in office and Bush, he knows how to get an unqualified motherfucker somewhere. It's something we can learn from him, politically. Everybody has a role. So those of us who are politically savvy, we have Tesla that's training people in media, and training politicians. And then we have our role that run our mouth and talk a lot. Then you have other people who just got money, who ain't gonna never say a word, but they're gonna have a check. And then you have other people who just got $10 and a sign to put in their grass. My thing is, whatever it is, whether you're the person that got only $10 on a campaign and a sign to put in your grass, or you the speaker, once we identify the politicians, like Dr. Paul Anderson said, you can always rent politicians. The politicians don't have to be black that you rent from. When we get to the point to where we're serious as a group to organize, it really don't matter what color the politician is in there, honestly. You can rent them because politicians are hoes. Other groups don't wait for somebody to look like them to get in office. They rent them out. They rent out whoever gets in office, Republican, Democrat, white, Asian, Latino, black, wherever the fuck it is. They're getting rented out by some other group. We got to get in the game on that level because once we get used to it on that level, then once we do finally get our homegrown politicians, they're going to have a base, they're going to have an organized political infrastructure, and they're going to have a savvy voting base that's already been through trial and error with these motherfuckers we done rented out. So let's all, look at, us playing our role the best we can play.
Big facts, brother. Big facts. That playing our role. That's what I say. We are a multifaceted, multi-level home, man. We need all hands on deck, and whatever you are good at, then that's what you are good at. So look, just like the brother Dwan B just said, all of those different areas need somebody, and there is one of you that already be like, oh, well, I do that I do that in my sleep. There it is. Lion of Judah. Go ahead, my brother.
Thank you. Dewan B, my question is for you. What are the brothers and sisters saying about Maxine on the ground? Are they disappointed with her as far as not helping them achieve the things that they want to get? And is there anybody willing to run against her? Thank you.
Well, it's a mixture. The church crowd, she can't do no wrong. You know what I mean? She's Auntie Maxine. She is the best, and don't mess with Auntie Maxine. That's how it is with the church and the people that came back to LA from the HBCUs. You have a whole lot that went down to Hampton and Howard, and they come back to LA, and they look at us cats that went to these white schools different, like, and they know it all. No, not dissing the HBCUs, just talking about a particular type of person. And those are the ones, the sorority and frat dudes. Those are the ones that, Maxine Waters can't do no wrong. Now, as far as the rest of us, it's like either people are just unaware and don't care, or they really ain't fucking with her. Like when you're dealing with your average worker, your people who work jobs, your people who work security, your people who having dealing with this high ass rent, they tired of her shit. Now, the churches, she can't do no wrong, but once you leave outside of the churches, once you leave outside of the people that came back here that think they better than us, they not really messing with Maxine Waters. The issue is who's running against her. Last 2 years ago, it was that Joe Collins dude. Y'all heard that dude in Twitter space. Was it last week when Tariq was calling him out or something like? It was that dude that, and as a matter of fact, I voted for him just because he wasn't Maxine, and so I voted for him because he wasn't Maxine. But yeah, I'm glad he didn't get in because we see kind of a nutball he is. Now I don't even see we're in October, and I don't see any Maxine Waters signs hardly, and I don't see anybody running against her signs either. And so,
is she up for election this go around?
Yeah, every 2 years.
So, oh my goodness, and there's no signs of any opponent.
At least 2 years ago, you did see a whole lot of Collins signs up. Now, so it's like no one's really even talking about her. There's nothing going on with that right now in that whole thing in the area. But I have heard from people who I know locally that have run for different offices. And one of my homegirls, she told me, she was like, basically here in LA, you oppose Maxine Waters as a Democrat. I mean, not only will they go so far as to not give you any resources, you got to flat out check your rearview mirrors. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that deeper than that. But I'm speaking just for people who have thought.
No, I believe you me. I understand the scene of the black scene of Southern LA. My mother, my former stepmother is a great ES leader. So, yeah, brother.
Yeah. So I don't want to go because I love y'all too much and I love myself too much to go any deeper than that. But that's what's going on right now.
Brother Dewalt, let me ask you a question, family. There was a lady that I was intrigued by out there in California. I think she was the mayor of Compton. Is it Ava Brown?
Asia Brown.
And what happened to her?
She got screwed over by her Mexican city council.
Damn.
What happened was Compton, and she ended up getting the potholes fixed. But let me give you a quick little story. This will give you, she's still there, but this will give you a synopsis of her tenure as mayor of Compton. It was some ex-felons, some brothers who got out of prison, who learned how to fix things in prison, learned how to fix potholes and you know, prison work. They do what they up in Susanville. They're the ones that fix the road, the prisoners. So these brothers got out. They raised $500,000 that was going to pay salaries of ex-felons and also pay for the street repairs. Driving through Compton, especially 4 years ago, was like driving on the moon. That shit was like you needed a Mars rover to get down to get down one of them streets, to get down Compton Boulevard. And it would be weird because like the main, if you're a visitor, if you're a Main Street, if you're driving down Wilmington, driving down Central, driving down Langer, those streets are cool. But the minute you turn to a residential neighborhood, I'm talking about potholes, no exaggerations, 2 to 4 inches deep. And I'm talking about literally hundreds. They raised $500,000. You know what happened? Because H. Brown told me that she was going to sign it and prove it. It was 3 Latinos and 2 black people on the city council. The 3 Latinos all got together and they got caught. This didn't just happen and they got away with it. They got caught. But of course, the news likes to bury stories. They got caught coming together and they would not approve the project. A project that these black men got together, not only got the people, they had the certified skills and they had the money. 3 Mexicans got together on the city council and said no. So the people of Compton had to still deal with potholes in the streets because the 3 Mexicans didn't want to approve something that was created, funded, and labored by black people. That's what Asia Brown had to deal with.
Damn. Man, brother, I always wondered what happened to her because I thought she was such a great black grassroots political, component, and she didn't get enough shine. I was following her for years.
That's the problem, because she is black. Because I won't call her. She knows how to play in those circles to get what she needs out those circles. But she really do fuck with us. She do, and she will do some things that's gonna make you be like, But at the end of the day, she is a Democrat, so I understand. Booker T. Washington had to play the game to an extent. I get playing the game to an extent. All of us can't be, us all the way grassroots do, we got something different because we're not connected to their money like that. If you're going to be connected to their money, I do understand some level of game having to be played. As long as when you play that game, you give us some tangible resources too. And that's what she was trying to do, and that's exactly why they ain't fucking with her.
Mm-hmm. That makes total sense. I'm because brother, I remember seeing her too. It's like, oh, okay, well, Compton got something cracking down there. She seemed cool and solid, not like one of the mammies from Atlanta. Yeah. But I ain't surprised.
And she won the election. Compton's been mostly Mexican all century. People, all that black Compton, that shit stopped in the 90s. I heard some people talking crap about Compton recently on a show. They're talking about, well, see, Mexicans have been the majority in Compton since 2000. You know what I mean? So that they've been there. But she still won the mayoral slot. And yeah, the fact it's the same pattern. When you're dealing with black people who actually care about black people, they go untalked about. If you can guarantee if they ain't talking about you, you're doing something right. If they talking about you, Mark Ridley Thomas, he ain't shit. I'm not defending him getting put in jail. As a matter of fact, my dad whooped his ass in the 7th grade because he ain't shit. He's been throwing us under the bus his whole tenure. Herb Wesson's kind of like back and forth, but they before Mark Ridley Thomas got caught up with this whole money scandal, they always had him on the news. That's because that was a main, too short looking nigga. He was the main nigga that was fucking us up. Do you know? I'm gonna give you a quick example. The train line that's going through, not the newest train line going on Crenshaw, the one that's going across Crenshaw. And when it goes by USC, it goes underground. It's a subway, so that white people don't get injured. When it's over on the west side, Culver City area, it goes above ground, so that white people don't get injured. That line is only on level surface for a 4-mile stretch from Vermont, Normandy, Western, Crenshaw, and La Brea. Those are the 4 major thoroughfares that black LA live in. Mark Ridley Thomas, when it was his turn to deal with the budget, he had the budget to either keep it a subway, put it over ground, but he said no, put it on ground because, at the end of the day, we all know how high the murder rate, the fatality rates gets with subways and like directly on the ground. He said put it on the ground, and the extra money that he would have had to use to raise it above the ground, kept that shit. And I don't know what the fuck he did with it. And so these are the people that they put out there with us politically. Compton has had a history of having black people who were spooks who sat by the door. Same thing with Omar Bradley. Omar Bradley was one of those guys that they loved at first, but he helped black people out. So what happened? He got put in jail. People forget about Omar Bradley in the 90s. That nigga, when he was mayor of Compton, he was trying to stop a lot of these Mexicans from coming in. He saw the game. He was trying to give contracts to black people. So they put charges on his ass. If you in LA and you doing something and you black, they gonna put charges on you. Mark Reddy Thomas wasn't doing shit. He's got put charges because he's an asshole. But Omar Bradley and the rest of them that's doing something, they getting charges. It's dirty out here politically. It's like if they don't win, that's why like person like me, when people say run, nigga, I done seen the game. My uncle was an eye doctor. It took him 10 years to open up an eyeglass shop in South Central. Why? Because the city council didn't want black people having good vision by a black eye doctor. Now, if he wanted to open up a liquor store all day, here you go. He had to wait till the riots happened. And then when Operation Rebuild LA came back after the riots, that's what allowed him to open up an eyeglass shop. But for 10 years, he couldn't. That's how dirty this shitty-ass city is. I love the weather, but the politics is dirty. So I ain't running for shit. But if I do see somebody that represents an agenda that I like, that I'm pushing, I'll meet with them and I'll get them some money. But me running for something in this city, the way it operates, hell nah.
I totally agree, brother. I totally agree. Because at the end of the day, man, I would rather be the help behind a politician than to be the politician, like Dr. Short said. Because you know what goes along with it, and yeah, you do have to play the game. And then there's that line that people say in the business that if you want to really be successful, you got to deal with the devil at some time. And yeah, that is one of those positions to where, yeah, you best believe you face up. You face up on it at this one. So yeah, hard pass for me.
Hey, doesn't that show you, family, on the flip side of that? If you're black grassroots and you're certified, you catch hell. Doesn't that kind of tell you what everybody who gets the pat on the back is doing? Doesn't that show you that everybody who's getting, sponsored and everybody who's got all the propaganda, the Stacey Abrams of the world, doesn't that kind of show you that since they got it easy, that they're going along to get along? Kind of shows you the same thing. Go ahead, Sister Susan.
I would just like to add something about running for office. I did run for office in Philly. I'm from Philly, grassroots, homegrown, 21st of Westmoreland, Tioga, okay? Now, by the way, the mayor said Tioga was the worst neighborhood in the city. He was telling the truth. We didn't put bodies landed in the street. Bodies was in the sewer. That's how rough they were. But I made better choices. Anyway, I ran for committee person in my area. And the daughter of one of the council people, well, her name was Sherry Cohen and her father Cohen. So you can just Google all that mess anyway. She was running for state committee person. So that left a vacancy for the city committee person. I got on the ballot, everything, got my votes out, whatever you have to do to get on the ballot, did it. She found out that I actually was serious. She put herself back on the city ballot and got the votes from me. And then took the city and the state. That's just to show you how dirty they are. But I didn't give up. I still fight back. I run the polls. I get the money. But I'm all about my people. And they can't stop me. I'm landing my plane one more time.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. And that's crazy. Crazy, but I'm not surprised at the same time because you were trying to exercise what they say is your right. You know how people always say, well, you need to get your candidate. And what y'all stupid asses don't understand is, see, you're going to have to deal with this in legislation. Now, see, when you deal with legislation and then you get a politician that represents your interests, then see, now you're going to be doing, see, you get to the boule luncheon and then you get who you need. I mean, come on, man. See, here's a sister who literally, legitimately tried to run and then got straight snubbed out. Because again, when you have a system that is saying, hey, we need to keep our particular people in place, well, then you had this person was double dipping on elections just to go ahead and keep the sister out of position. So it's not shocking at all. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, B, I just had a thought, because speaking of politics, as far as, I think we got to totally like scrap the table and come at this whole thing different. We've had black politicians in office since 1868. Hiram Revels, Robert Smalls, my great-great-granduncle, Adelbert Roberts, the first state black senator in Illinois history, 1924. We've been doing this for a long time, but whether it be my great-great-granduncle or whether it be Hiram Revels or whether it be Maxine Waters, Dr. Claude Anderson taught us that these black politicians take an oath to not fuck with us when they get in office. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's part of the oath. Man, niggas be I be in front of my house and somebody just saw me from 5150. Like, God damn, this nigga know where I live. All right, my bad. Damn. Anyway, it's like the fifth time this shit happened. You can trace back to 5150. Like, anyway, what was I saying?
Got to be careful out there, brother.
Shit. Anyway, we on 51. I mean, shit. So hiring black politicians, that's been we have about 170 years of data to show that yes, we do have exceptions. We do have your Austin Maddox, you do have Marion Barry. You got some exceptions, but overall, that's almost a guarantee that if you get somebody in there black, they ain't fucking with us. What has worked? We've had white politicians and politicians from other races do things that benefited us. When it comes down to Bruce's Beach, that was fought for by Janice Hahn, old tales from a crib-looking white bitch. But she had the right motivation behind her. She wanted to sort of spite other white politicians. The people at Bruce's Beach were organized enough to get a push to it. You had enough media attention to it to where Janice Hahn, because the Hahns, when it comes to LA, those are the biggest gangsters in LA City. The Hahns have had Kenneth Hahn, their father, all of the James Hahn, the son was once mayor. The Hahns have held political position here in LA going back to the 1920s, 1930s. So black people were able to organize enough, and she had enough of a political agenda to make a big move towards getting those people land back at Bruce's Beach. And so why am I saying this? The strategy Dr. Claude Anderson told us 30 years ago on Black Labor, White Wealth, and Powernomics, renting and buying politicians. We got to get to that. We have to get to that point to where no matter what the color of the person is, no matter what their political party is, if they're getting in office, they're going to represent our agenda. But that requires us to be organized enough on the ground on what that clear local agenda is, and that requires black businesses enough to organize the community the way our businesses and churches once did in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And so we can get back to that point. But I'm thinking if we re-look at this thing, and of course we need to run our own politics. That's a given. We need to get there. But in the meantime, that can take a generation to do so. We can get some people in there, but as far as like overall, that can take a generation for that to sweep across the country. What can we do in the next election? What can we do in 2024 and 2026 locally? The people who run business can all come together. The black people who have a code of conduct, who have some kind of business, you guys are down south. It's enough of you guys that know enough black people with business to come together with some sort of code of conduct to where when these people are running from the local office, whether they be Democrat or Republican, there's some sort of organization there to push the political interests of the people that are there locally. That's a strategy that does work. And that's a strategy that it also works with how politics is run. No other group waits on somebody that looks like them to get in office. Well, it's given for the white folks in the Midwest because they all look alike. But white folks, these liberals over here on the West Coast, they don't give a damn about how you look. It comes down to the organized agenda by a very small group of business people. If we approach it from that point of view, I think we can get some further along success from the businesses that we already have established from the black people who are already on code. It don't take a whole lot, just a few. And that's something that I'm willing to put up in my business here in LA and other like-minded business people. And that's something I think people, wherever you are locally, the people who do run business, the people who do have some sort of say-so in what you do, organize with like-minded individuals, pull your money together, and go buy a politician. They hoes.
Man, I agree. They all play that same damn position, man. Are you there, Alpha?
Yeah, I'm right here. Hey, I'm glad Brother Dewan brought up Dr. Claude Anderson, man. Dr. Claude has been laying out the blueprint. He's been prophesizing for so long. The things that we can achieve have been laid out. It just takes people to actually get that wherewithal and actually go out and do it and connect. Especially like my brother was just saying down here in the South where there's so many numbers. When you got that number advantage, people don't understand that number advantage means so much. It's already hard enough to find folks who are codified and who have that same code of conduct, but it greater, increases the chances when you have people who have a large amount of numbers. And that's something that can happen right here, right now in terms of getting these politicians. And I also like how brother said, in terms of going to take your money and rent these politicians, we can leave all that emotion at the door. It don't matter who they are. If they serve our interests, it's got to be about us by hook or by crook. It don't matter as long as it get the job done. It don't matter how you get there as long as you get there. And that's what we're going to have to continue to do. Too much of the emotion has been into black politics. And that's why the Democratic Party has been able to always just, play us based upon that emotion. Tell us this, that, and the other thing, evoke the emotion, get folks to do things sporadically, incoherently, and then boom, they got us where they want us. Therefore, now, once we start leaving that emotion at the door and we start actually operating on a business mentality, because that's all it is business. And that's another reason why so many of these other groups, not to mention they get assisted by the dominant society and they get elevated, so they already have that extra assistance. But beyond that, they operate like it's a business. What are you going to do for my people? It is a business transaction. A lot of black folks for years in the previous generations, they've been treating politics, like it's a game, like it's something that, you play with. You don't play with this stuff. You got to be real with it. This ain't the church. You know what I mean? That's why you have separation of church and state. So the very fact that the epicenter of a lot of our political decisions were in the church, that already shows you people were coming with some type of emotional mentality. The emotions got to be checked at the door. It's always business, never personal. Always business, never personal. And this is what, Dr. Claude was teaching back in the day. Mind you, the same time Dr. Claude was teaching this, you had the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons of the world running around here evoking emotion on folks. And once they cannot control you with emotion, they can't control you no more. Once you remove the emotion, you put that shit on the side, on the corner, outside the house, they cannot control you no more. And that's one thing I like about this era is that we have been stripping away all the emotions so we can get to it in a business aspect and we can get things done in that atmosphere. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And salute to everybody out there who is taking the business world and applying it to the political world, because the political world and the business world are just side by side. All of the politicians are bought off by businessmen. So that's the good point our brother brought up. It says when you start looking at it, politicians are like NASCAR. If you ever watch NASCAR, you ever watch people driving, they got a bunch of patches on them that show you all of their sponsors. All right, that's what a lobbyist is. A lobbyist, basically, AKA, is bribery. It's all about bribery. Who cutting the check? Who's going to these politicians? Who's paying them? As our brother just said, who's renting them off? Dr. Claude Anderson was speaking about that as well as others for years. So when you take the money along with the code of conduct and you put those two together and you start going to these politicians and you start telling them this is how it's got to be, this is how it will be, and we're going to not only be able to provide you votes, but we're also going to be able to provide you the finances, things get done. But when you go with a blindfold on and you basically say, I'm going to vote Democrat no matter what, The Democratic Party can say whatever they want. I mean, look at Joe Biden. He has a laundry list of things that he said negative about foundational Black Americans since 1922. Because y'all know he old as hell any damn way. So you can go way the fuck back to World War I, and he was saying shit. World War II, Vietnam, the Korean War, Afghan, both Iraq wars. Joe Biden has been racist since the beginning. And he was still saying racist things in office, and you still got a lot of Democratic shields who are going to vote that way no matter what. So those folks have to be removed out the paint. And once we get them folks out the paint, once we get all that emotion and they can't control us with that anymore, and we start doing this on a business sense, we get our political game up and some business savvy, the whole spectrum changes, and we're starting to see the wheels in motion right here, right now. And that's the beautiful thing about this era, where not only are we doing a clean sweep on the way people conduct themselves, we're also doing a clean sweep on what we determine them to do for us. If they do not come running up those tangibles, running reparations, and if we do not get our own political resources, tangibles in any form, then we're not going to support a candidate. And it's all about money. Money talk, bullshit walk. And that's the way we got to continue to do it.
Big facts, big major facts. And that's the one thing that, you know, we are getting into the era of the business of empowerment, like we consistently keep saying. And with that, we are moving away from the emotional driven movement. So what they're so used to is playing on the emotions of foundational Black Americans to say, oh, well, hey, man, you should look out for this group because they've had it bad, and let's start breaking out the violins because Blacks are so sensitive. Well, now that we're saying, nah, we just going to staunchly go ahead and be about our check and our reparations, be about our justice, our anti-hate crime bill that needs to happen. See, there are all kind of elements that can be going on right now, and there is literally nothing being said to help the Black community whatsoever. And there's so many different things that can be done. It's so, okay, well, I'm not for reparations. Okay, what do you have for Black people specifically? And any candidate should be able to say, okay, well, this is for this group, this is for that group, because we have to sit back as a collective, as foundational Black Americans, and sit back and listen to all of these other groups get pitches about what they're going to get for their vote and for this person. Warnock was over there in front of the Asians. Oh, I'm just so honored and deeply privileged and humbled to be here. Okay. Then you got Stacey Abrams. She's over there at their little celebration with the Mexicans. Oh, hey, Carnival. I'm going to give you everything you want, and I'm going to make sure that we invest in your futures. Come over to the Blacks. Yeah, I'm going to legalize weed. Stop. I mean, so we are in a position now, family, that we have to seize the moment, take control of the day, and no longer let these do-nothing politicians speak for us. We see that they're do-nothing politicians because these people that have spoken, Brother Dwan B. speaking about a very influential figure that is right there in his district that he don't see, that ain't saying nothing on behalf of the Black Angelinos that have just blatantly been disrespected by these Hispanics, that these people, let's remember, these Democrats go and vouch for these other Hispanics to get these jobs. So, like, you just, why? Because if that was the case, we would have a politician coming out the hood. But instead, no, you have politicians coming from over the border. How that sound? How that sound for all those Black Angelinos down there? And when you got banditos running around in the LA Police Department. I mean, understand what you're looking at. You got anti-Blacks in the police, anti-Black folks in enforcement, and then on your city council. So from law enforcement to the courthouse to the city council, you are absolutely cornered by opposition. We have no voice, and there is no reason to sit up here and tell Black folks another day that, man, it's just so disheartening to hear y'all talking about our brown brothers and sisters. We don't have no brown brothers and sisters. The Black and brown is Black and Blacker. That is all we're dealing with over here. So it's brown is Dwan B is brown. So Brown is black over here as far as we're concerned. And I would advise every last one of you to make sure that you get people, because we have to teach people to lose in terminologies. So don't let nobody call you BIPOC. Don't let nobody call you a person of color. Make sure you actively correct that, because that's how this becomes a habit. People to know how to properly label you. So, they were a person of color. No, they were black. Because I'm not no person of color. I don't look like no rainbow. So with that being said, just taking a firm position again, family, on our greatness. Back to you.
I'm glad you brought up people of color, family, because have you been seeing a lot of these people of color groups are starting to team up now and starting to make their own little political organizations, their own little political PACs, and their own little coalitions. And I don't see foundational Black Americans a part of it. I see when they open their mouth, they always say people of color to include us so they can get in on what we have. But now I'm starting to see these other groups teaming up and making their own. So it goes to show you, one of my mottos I always say, they love to stand next to us politically, but they stand away from us socially. Socially, these people want nothing to do with us. Don't cross through their yard. Don't come to my house. They call us every name in the book. Politically, they'll start talking all these ally terms, and that affords them the opportunity to swoop on in and steal what we create. So once again, they stand away from us socially. They stand next to us politically. And what you're seeing now, and a lot of people seeing that picture that's circling around the internet about that little super PAC coalition between the Asians and the Latinos. I didn't see no black folks there. I didn't see no black folks. Now, if you ask these people, do they support black folks politically? They'll be like, yeah, we all people of color, da-da-da. How come people of color wasn't in there? That color that was excluded was black. So you're seeing these people team up now, because I had a conversation one time with one of my partners, and we had a discussion, and we were speaking about how these groups have always individually tried to eat off our plate. And since we've rejected, now they're saying, well, let's team up. Let's team up. And this is what's starting to happen. We're getting ushered into the era where a lot of these tethers are just teaming up with each other. Some of these folks come from two different sides of the earth, literally. They have nothing in common at all, except for they both want in on foundational Black American tangibles and resources. Soon as we start talking about reparations, Group A, that's way on the Pacific, and Group B, that's way on the Atlantic, all of a sudden they see some type of kinship in each other where they start connecting so they can both get it. And they're basically saying, I can't get it on my own. You can't get it on your own. Maybe if we team up together, we can overdo foundational Black Americans. And eventually, once we steal what FBA has, then we'll have a conversation amongst ourselves on who gets it. But in the meantime, in between time, let's team up against them. You're starting to see what I call tag team racism. It's where one group cannot do nothing to foundational Black Americans. The other group cannot do something against foundational Black Americans. So they start teaming up like this a damn WWE. Okay, this is what happens when people cannot penetrate us. When they cannot penetrate us, they go to these type of measures. So you're starting to see a lot of tether connections. You're starting to see them right now on Twitter Spaces. And that's only reflective of what you're starting to see in these streets. You'll see one tether from damn Africa. You'll see another tether from the Caribbean, one from Asia, one from Latin America. And one thing they got in common is they both have vitriol spite for foundational Black Americans. They both cannot get our tangibles on their own. They cannot steal. The jig is up. They can't come through the window, the chimney, the attic, the basement. So one says, you go around that side of the house, I'll go around this side of the house, and then we'll get what foundational Black Americans belong to, and then we'll take it home, and then we'll divvy it up between each other. So we got to start looking out for that as well. So when we truly say it's foundational Black Americans against the world, it is genuinely foundational Black Americans against the world. Not only do we have to deal with the dominant society, we also have to deal with all of their little minions. And now it's to the point where the minions are not operating individually, their minions are operating collectively. So they're sending them out to come and get what we have. So we have to watch out for that politically, because eventually what it's going to be is foundational Black Americans trying to achieve what we have to achieve. And we're going to start running into these super PACs of these tether connections, and they're all going to be trying to divvy up, disrupt, and disrail what foundational Black Americans have. Remember, it's always miseducation, misrepresentation.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm about to go start streaming this debate, so I'm going to head out. But thank you for letting me talk. And like I said, y'all got to be judicious with your vote.
Yes, indeed. And y'all go follow our brother Kid Gravity on YouTube. Kid Gravity Beyond on YouTube. While you're there, go follow myself, Black Alpha Network, and of course Dwan B Go give us all a follow over on YouTube, please. And also, I see my brother Afro leading the house as well. So please go give us a follow and go ahead and maybe like a couple videos if you want to, you know?
All right, y'all. I got to be out of here, too. I got some other stuff to get into. So it was good talking to y'all again. I'll be back in Twitter Spaces because a nigga can't tweet for 7 days. I'll holler at y'all.
All right, my brother Black first.
Salute, family. Salute. I guess we'll bring this all the way around back full circle, family. We done broke down politics on both coasts, y'all, and everything in between. I'm talking about extensively too, not half-assed. We done talked about it from the West Coast all the way from the political world to the streets on what's going on because it all plays in together. We've talked about it and strategically how we can do things down south, the Midwest, the East Coast. Shout out to all my people on the East Coast. Shout out to my brother Sage, by the way. Salute to you, family. We done broke it down in a lot of different ways so everybody understands this type of, political atmosphere and what we can do to actually get there. Identifying and addressing the problems is one thing, but then coming up with real, genuine solutions is another. And I believe that we done broke down a lot of good solutions on how we could do it, all the way from Black grassroots and creating our own candidates to also even using our, vote as a weapon and weaponizing it against two political parties and how to, pay off politicians, how to lobby, all different types of things that we can do. As my brother said, it's a very collective effort that we can make sure happens every single time that we step out in the political world and we can get things done. But the main thing is that it is no reparations, then it's no Democrats, then it's no Republican, then it's nobody. Okay, let me say that one more time. If it's no reparations, then it's no Democrats, no Republicans, and nobody. It is going to be about us, and we're going to get real, genuine laws and legislations and policies passed for us, not the ones they tell us. Okay, not what they try to tell us what we should do or who we should like or who our friends should be. No, everything that we do is going to be funded, sponsored by the Black grassroots. No longer are we here to do what they tell us to do, to go along to get along. Everything is going to be done based upon the consensus that the Black grassroots comes up with. And we have been coming up with a lot of them because we have all types of intelligent people, all types of bright minds, and we got it all in us. Let me tell you this. A lot of folks think that we got to solve things and figure things out and we just get together. No, we are already strong. We're already strong. Only thing we need to do is take our strengths and put them one. Unite the city, step to the world is a weapon. And that's what's happening right now. This is why you see the Democratic Party in disarray. This is why you see them going to all types of lengths to confuse us. As I said earlier, for anybody who missed it, I said once we get codified, they start sending in the agents, they start sending in the ops, they start sending in the infiltrators, and that's a good thing. Why is that a good thing? Because that shows you that we got them against the ropes. Whenever they have things going in their way, they don't never do anything. Supremacy gets very lazy. They kick their feet up whenever they got the Barack Obamas of the world, the Kamala Harrises of the world. Whenever they feel things are working in their favor, they sit back. Once you start seeing them sweat, once you start seeing them get real disturbed, once Roland Martin gets on TV and he's beeping all over the place and he's cussing at Black folks, that means that he's a coon with an attitude, CWA. And that's how we're going to keep them that way. We're going to make sure that they're all mad, that they're all uncomfortable because we're doing things our way in a genuine fashion. So the main thing that we have to do is stay laser focused, stay codified, stay together, stay strong, stay vigilant. And whatever you do, just make sure you stay next to your foundational Black American sister or brother. As long as you do that, every single thing else will work out. Everything will fall in line. Everything will fall in place because that's what's been going on for years. But I do want to say this to anybody, all the ops out there, all the Democrats, all the little shields that are listening, because I know they are. I want to always say this. Whatever you do, and no matter what you think, if you did not like foundational Black Americans yesterday, you're going to hate the foundational Black Americans of today because we are a different breed. We coming stronger than ever, and you're going to definitely have to deal with us. So I want everybody to make sure that you subscribe to the Black Alpha Network. Follow me right here on Twitter, but make sure you follow me on YouTube. Slide over there and hit me a like. Subscribe to the channel. That's Black Alpha Network. Subscribe to my brother Beatzilla as well. My brother Dewan B was in here and Kid Gravity. All of those names, make sure you swing over to YouTube and you subscribe to our YouTube channels because this type of B1 content, this type of foundational Black American excellence, we not only put it on this platform, but we put it on every platform and we take it with us everywhere we go. That is publicly, privately, socially, and politically. So with that said, I'm going to toss it to my brother Beatzilla. If anybody else wants to speak, the floor is yours. But it's good to sit down and talk to the family because this is a family gathering. This is a family affair, and we are a family tree. And as I always said, as long as I got my fellow foundational Black American brother or sister with me, then I got everything, and everything we got is better than them. Go ahead, brother Zilla.
Yes, indeed. I'll go ahead and open the floor. If any of you three brothers wanted to chime in before we wrap this space up, you can go ahead right now. If not, then I'll go ahead and close out. All right, it looks like we are good. So shout out to all of the speakers on the stage, and shout out to all the speakers who have already spoke, everybody who has came and hung out with us again on a good Monday for our Certified Truth Spaces. This, of course, is Midterm Madness, and this is our second installment. Me and my brother, Black Alpha Network, and of course, Queen Alpha was in here just a minute ago, holding it down. So as y'all already know how we do over here, we push foundational Black American excellence. We are about the business of empowerment, and we are in the business of building up one another. Like they say, each one teach one. So this is what we do here. Love to have positive, uplifting spaces. Hopefully, again, you were edified and you leave this space feeling better than you did before you came. So with that, stay Black, stay vigilant, stay alive. Black first, Black first, Black first. Peace, y'all.